ain't accepting, ignore, just kicking down all the doors. Guarantee you, boy, if I ask for it, it's gotta be real big. I gotta make it just for my kids, and for their kids, it's kids. That's wealth, years and years. Promise my brother, soon as he out and finish this bid, we finna do it bigger than anybody ever did. The odds is real big, jobs that's real big. Satan trying a little, my God is real big. Stayed up on the grind on the cars is real big. I gotta do it big, the only way that I can live.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series here for the penultimate round of our winter season in 2022. Only 4 races remain in this championship that is so finely poised. Only 40 points separate the top 2 right now with not long to go at all. And what a circuit we visit for the penultimate round of this championship. It's the Charlotte Roval, only been in operation since about 2018, I think it was 4 years ago it came into effect, and while that wild final chicane is no longer a thing, this is still a wild race circuit to be having a penultimate round of a championship. My name is Yoda Leary, I'll be alongside Lorenzo Bonda here this afternoon with Ryan Bauer behind the cameras once again. And Lorenzo, this circuit is unique, that's one of the words you can use for it, there are many to describe it. It won't be a favourite with everybody here, but it will certainly throw up thrills and spills for absolutely everyone because it is such an odd place to go.
Yeah, it will be such an odd challenge to go. I like to see the final 3 races of the calendar are all in very tight tracks of sorts. We just went through Long Beach, very tight track. Now we're going to the road course of Charlotte, which is a tight track, and then we round out the season at Mount Panorama. So this might not be the fan favorite, but it's going to be an interesting race.
It certainly is, and as I mentioned, only 4 races to go, 2 rounds, Charlotte and Bathurst, coming up in 3 weeks' time here on RaceSpotTV, so make sure you join us for that. It's going to be a fantastic finale. Before we go any further, of course, we've got a little bit of housekeeping to do, a bit of giveaway and a bit of Easter eggs and all that kind of thing, and of course the championship standings as well to be looking through. Let's look at the giveaway for today. It's a Cloud Flight S wireless gaming headset on the line today. If you go into the description or the link in the chat, you can find the link that will allow you to enter the giveaway here for this week. Just click through there and you'll find it pretty easy enough to enter the giveaway. And yeah, you're in with a chance of winning. As with the Easter egg, there's the prizes on the line for that. This is the picture here today. You've got to work out what the hell's going on here. And of course, remember where we are in the world as well at the Charlotte Roval. When you're factoring in your answer, there'll be a sheet at the final round in Bathurst in 3 weeks' time, when you can fill in all of the answers from all of the Easter eggs throughout the 6 rounds of the winter season, and you're in with a chance of winning those prizes. Let's also have a look at the championship standings before we go any further into qualifying. The pro standings at the moment being led by T3 Motorsport by Maniti. Got off to a fantastic start to the season, of course, winning the first 4 rounds. But 5-Star Motorsport have been closing the gap with 2 wins at Long Beach a few weeks ago. Pure Sims Esports are now 3rd ahead of the other T3 Motorsport by Maniti car. The 2 RSR by Bunker cars are 5th and 6th. XPD ML Racing have got themselves into 7th, and Vector by RSR. Ingersoll Randanosis are into the top 10 now, ahead of another one of the Pure Sims Esports cars, the 116. Moving on to Pro-Am, it's T3 Motorsport by Maniti leading here as well, but it's a lot closer. Only 12 points separate themselves from Westwood Racing Esports. Kazar Sim Racing are behind them, ahead of Rusty Spatulas. Valorous Motorsports round out the top 5. Then we've got VC Sim Racing in 6th, ahead of Eclipse Racing Team. Project Dynamic are 8th, and then it is TR powered by Geeks Energy and Cube Racing rounding out the top 10. Finally, moving on to the AM standings, the standings that are probably most likely to change over the, that most likely to be sealed today with still rounds remaining. World of Sim Racing Team leading by 103 points at this stage ahead of Oblivion Racing. That's V Racers, TR powered by Geeks Energy, Jason Tails Racing, who have got themselves into the second part of qualifying already by getting through the practice session. Kazar Sim Racing 6th position, and E-Team Brit, who are bringing up the rear of those AM standings. So these championships are finally poised here, Lorenzo, especially Pro and Pro-Am. But the penultimate round is oh so crucial. 40 points separating T3 Motorsport by Maniti and 5-Star Motorsport. Two massive teams, of course. But you've got or I certainly have the feeling coming into today that T3 Motorsport by Maniti, 5-Star Motorsport have to close that margin today. Just make that their life a little bit easier in a few weeks' time at Bathurst before we actually get there.
Yeah, you really don't want to leave up the chances at Bathurst. So, what a win doesn't do for an individual or a team per se, right? Getting the win at Long Beach, I think, was overly necessary, and then T3 by Motorsport by Maniti just faltering at Long Beach, and you need that regularity. So the 200 points, max points for 5-Star, brought him into the light once again. It's a close championship once again, and with the fact that the disqualifying thing will matter the most, because we're going to see overtakes maybe here and there, but this track favors those who are very clean drivers. And I mean clean, not, of course, with racecraft, clean as do clean lines, avoid mistakes, because this track can punish you hard if you make any single mistake. Yeah,
absolutely. It can. As you can see in the background here, the sky looking absolutely wonderful as ever. And the headlights making an impression on the road right now as well. You can see the track conditions, 20 degrees in the air, 22 down on the road, just going into the darkness here today. Shouldn't affect things too much. It's not really a long race where we see track temperature changing things too much. However, it's a nice temperature to be going racing in, and obviously dusk falling. We are certainly going to be in the darkness a little bit later on, but darkness never really a factor at these ovals. It's not exactly like the Northside for Spa, where things are really dark around the back of the circuit. Everywhere's going to be really quite well lit here, you would say, and so that won't affect these guys too much.
Is it really dark? Nah. At Nordschleife? Nah. You're lying. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, this is going to be one of those tracks that, because it has artificial lighting, since it is a NASCAR track, it will make the lives out of the drivers much more easier than just relying on their headlights like you probably would have to do, and they will have to do at Bathurst, which has basically no artificial lighting except for the main straight, and maybe a little bit of a patch of the mountain straight. Other than that, it's going to be a compelling race, you know, like again, qualifying, I think you're going to have to manage traffic appropriately, because you're going to be basically on someone else's bumper or rear wing, trying to chase the guys, so, and cold tires will come into effect over here, because you're not going to get that peak performance on the first lap, so it's going to take a little bit of a while, and if you're coming out of the pits, you have to get out of the way immediately, so you don't prejudice any competitors who are on their hot laps.
Yeah, that is all important, of course. You will land yourself with a penalty, so got to be careful of that. It's the first times come through right now. It's 5-Star Motorsport first over the line with Rooney Janssens. Rooney not fell for T3 Motorsport by Maniti, just falling in behind, but Tristan Iglesias with a great lap time there, a 13.7 to kick things off, 6/10 better than his main championship rival at this stage, Rooney Janssens. Here he is on board. Iglesias doing a very good job in the opening lap there, but as you say, we are going to get faster and faster. This circuit, of course, the oval at least. You mentioned NASCAR there, home of the Coke 600, the longest race in the NASCAR calendar. NASCAR also goes here to this oval as well. And it's fair to say this track has been through a few changes in the years that it has been on the NASCAR calendar. I think this is the 5th year this year that it will be on the calendar. 2018, Lorenzo, there was an absolutely wild chicane. We had it in our racing from the very start. It was entertaining, but it was completely bonkers. It was wild. We don't have that anymore. Slightly more civilized chicane these days.
Yeah, it's slightly more civilized, because back in the day it was you had to go with the mentality of do or die, literally. So if you just take it 1 inch too deep, you go into the exit curb and you get hit the wall, hit the other wall, 360, another hit in the wall, or something like that. But now we're going to chicane that I think invites, if you are side by side, a little bit of a dive bomb. You do get traction on the second leg if you are towards the inside a little bit, but the exit runoff, it's so wide that even if you're on the outside, still side by side, you can actually gain an advantage and be on the inside part of the out of the oval part, which is basically what we say line number 1. So that line number 1 does have a lot of grip and can give you a little bit of an advantage even with side draft. And that wall, I hate that wall.
Yes, we're going to see that hit today, quite possibly, because that final chicane does often spit you out right towards the exit, coming over the line. This is Marius Janka. Oh, and he's on the grass and he's in the wall here. Oh, dear me. Hard hit for the Pro-Am Championship leaders. Let's not forget the 2-7-3, only with 12 points over Westwood Racing Esports. It's got to be a very nervy time for all of those at the moment, and they are currently 4 tenths behind Westwood Racing Esports in the standings at the moment. It's never nice. A championship battle is one of the most nerve-wracking things you can go through, really, as a race team and a race car driver. 12 points with only 4 races to go. The pressure is really on both of those teams from here on in. It's going to be wonderfully entertaining for us, though.
It's going to be very entertaining from the aspect that the drivers need to commit every single race. And I think it's funny that I think I mentioned this on the Endurance series. You ramp up the difficulty. This is kind of like the same. You ramp up the difficulty in terms of getting clean laps. Long Beach, you can kind of like make one mistake here and there, but you can avoid the wall of sorts. It's not a fast track. You're now into a roval, which has some different grooves than Long Beach, and then you can make it. But it's very easy for you to make a mistake. And then we go into Bathurst, which we know is you're at the very limit of your car and the track itself, every single turn specifically. So you have to make do with what you have. But if you want to win the championship, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've ever seen a championship finale at Bathurst before, so I'm looking forward to that. Should be exciting. 3 weeks' time that will be 15th of May, coming up here on RaceSpotTV. So make sure you join us for that at same time, same place. Should be a very good finale as we follow 5-Star Motorsport at the moment. They're just behind the session leaders and championship leaders. T3 Motorsport by Maniti over the line again for Rune Janssens. He just need to find a bit of time here. He's not too far away from third position, but let's just follow on a lap here. 14.4 right now. We'll go on board for a lap here because we haven't had a chance to do that just yet at the Charlotte Roval. The long, right, almost double apex right-hander at 3 and 4 there, and head yourself towards 5 and 6, which is also a very long right-hander. Over a crest as well, blind corner. You better hope that nobody's spun around in front of you here because you will get into the side of them. Here's turn 8. All important as you get onto the oval, and then NASCAR's turn 1 and 2. NASCAR turns 1 and 2 are 9 and 10, but you can debate between yourselves whether they should be corners or not. And into 11 and 12, which is this chicane, of course, a little bit slower than it used to be when this track was first introduced. Close to that wall on the outside line, back onto the oval again for NASCAR turns 3 and 4, which is 13 and 14. And into the kink at 15, straighten yourself out for the braking zone. And turn 16, the right-hander, and then bounce across these curbs and not into that outside wall, hopefully. Instead, we go for a big slide on board with Rune Janssens, a 10.5 better off than he was previously, so he does move up to 4th, but judging by that time, judging by the lap we just saw on board there, I do think there's a little bit more time in that car. There was definitely time left on the table in 1 or 2 places.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can find the chunks of time right there. It's just a matter of finding the right lines because, like I said, I think the infield transition is the hardest part, where you can find the biggest time gain or time loss, because it's funny, you don't see too much bank turns into infields, right? Basically turn 2, turn 3 actually it's slightly banked, and then you go into turn number 4, which is also slightly banked. It is about 2 to 3 degrees banked, and then you go into the turn number 8 and 9, which leads you into the oval. And the problem with that turn specifically is you can get so much understeer in the car that understeer kind of leads you into the wall, and you might have to lift off the gas and then lose about a tenth or two. So there are margins here you can find, but the lines every single turn are going to be crucial. And basically what they're doing is one lap burst, you know, just out lap, fast lap, in lap, and that's basically it, because the second lap you really don't get a good performance in the car.
Very close to the wall on the left-hand side there, even as they try and maximise their run onto the oval. This is XBD Emu Racing, I believe. I could be misidentifying. No, I am. It's Belarus Motorsport. There with Emu Vingbo. Done a very good job actually in a couple of the races, but not consistently enough to really be in with a shout of a championship. They have won a race in a round, but not consistently enough to really be involved in the fascinating fight that we're seeing at the front in Pro-Am at the moment. That category, by the way, the only category where a team hasn't taken a double round victory. The closest anybody's got was Westwood Racing Esports with a first place and a second place at Long Beach a few weeks ago. That's the closest anybody's come. We've not seen anybody get the full 200 like we have in Pro and in Am respectively. Is today going to be the day for one of those teams? We'll wait and see. At the moment, the championship teams are 3rd and 6th at the moment, which is a little bit lower than you'd expect to see them at this early point in the race. Just under 4 minutes to go here. Need to get into the top 10, of course. If you've not been with us so far this season, when we hit 20 minutes on the clock, you need to be in the top 10, because that will get you through into the second part of qualifying. So it's an F1 style knockout kind of thing going on here, and the final 15 minutes will be reserved for the 15 drivers fighting it out for pole position. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, going to be exciting, but need to be in that top 10 for now. It's very tight around that top 10 bubble, though.
Yeah, it's I think about a second separates the top 10, something like that. Yeah, nearly a full second. 1.2 separates first to 10, so the marginal margins, using repetition of words here, are gonna basically put you in or put you out. As Milvinbo, nice lap. If that is allowed, Valorous will be the pole position in the Pro-Am.
They are provisionally at the pole position, 0.3 of a second ahead of VEC Sim Racing. Vingbo left that one very late indeed, but he's produced the goods right at the end. He's ever so slightly wide on the grass there, but he's making it work at the moment. Just outside the bubble is Westwood Racing Esports. Very much wanted to get inside that top 10 there, because that would put some more cars between themselves and also T3 Motorsport by Maniti. Marius Yankee at the moment struggling a little bit, down in 15th overall and 7th now, I think, in the Pro-Am category, which is lower than you'd expect to see them, but only a 10th of a second. Westwood Racing Esports are away right now. Rusty Dispatchers and Kazar Sim Racing not too far away either right now. As we look at Vector by OSR, going to be breathing a sigh of relief that we see Westwood Racing Esports in the pit lane right now as they set themselves up for one final lap. Although we're seeing here, it's not the longest circuit in the world. We do have 18 cars out there at the moment, and there is a little bit of discussion over who should be where in track position right now, because, as I mentioned, only 113's around here, which is making track space a little bit difficult to come by.
Yeah, it's not the longest. I think it is slightly shorter than the Long Beach by a few points of a kilometer. Actually scratched that. Am I going crazy, or am I reading the track length is literally the same as Long Beach? 3.67 kilometers. I really want to look at Long Beach and see if it is 3.67. But anyway, not the longest lap, but I think because of the groove of this track, it makes it faster than Long Beach, because Long Beach has way more slower turns. Like basically the entire first sector is much more slower, as we have 1 minute remaining. So if you're about on your out lap, make sure you got that tire heated in properly and do your best lap. May the top 10 reign.
Let's see. 40 seconds remaining, and Benjamin Opienkowski's going to have a chance to get back into the top 10 here from 11th. On board with him into the very quick turn number 1 and 2, of course. You almost don't stop turning here, the left-hander, as the pits exit wall on the left-hand side, and he's got a lap car as well. Will it get out the way for him? No, it will not. Oh, he's been blocked on his fast lap right towards the end. They're going to be furious at Westwood Racing Esports about that, because that has surely prevented them. Oblivion Racing it was, the current AM pole sitters. Surely that has prevented Westwood Racing Esports from getting inside the top 10, and they're going to be really unhappy with that.
Yeah, but that's not good enough to see the Westwood team that actually was the best team in Pro-Am and basically closed down the gap to T3 Motorsport by Manini in the Pro-Am standings by 12 points, getting that block going to the infield, and basically their whole lap ruins. Of course, not what Daniel Merchant probably had in mind going to the infield, but it's tough, man.
Very tough indeed. Vector by RSR, one of those on a lap at the moment. Kezar Sim Racing, Hydra with Aaron Ackles also, I believe, out there at least. I don't know if they're going quicker at the moment or not, but we'll see. The 171 comes into the final couple of corners right now. Is this going to be enough for Niels Tiestas to get inside the top 10 over the line? And it's a mid-15. I'm afraid it's nowhere near good enough. And so once again, Vector by RSR struggle to get into the second part of qualifying, despite being a pro car against some of these Pro-Ams, Kezar Sim Racing being one of them. Aaron Ackles over the line, gives it his best, but he can't do enough and will stay 13th. We have our top 10 set, but it's disappointing to see, not for the first time this season, Vector by RSR and their 171 team, the only pro car to miss out on being in that top 15 and have a chance at being, or have a chance at going for that pole position. Really disappointing for them.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to like that, but I think as a counterpart, they are one of the only Mercedes teams in the field, if not they are the one of the 4 Mercedes teams in the field that not the best car in the current GT3 standards. I think they probably would be the 5th or 6th best car in the GT field. No BOP, of course, but this is one of the tracks that I think on the long run, because it kind of favors some of these turbo cars, I think the big blocks right at the front might propel them to use the draft a little bit more and gain some spots. So everything is doable for them as Q1 is already over, and we're going to Q2.
Yeah, we'll go to Q2 in when that clock hits 15 minutes at the top left-hand side of your screen. Interestingly, you mentioned there only 4 cars, or only 4 Mercedes entered into this championship. RSR by Bookkicker not here today by the looks of things. Oh, they do have one car down the... they're going to join us for the top 15 after getting through from practice. But yeah, 4 Mercedes, and they're all RSR cars, either Vector by RSR or RSR by Bookkicker, which is very interesting. You can see there 1, 2, 3, 4 for Lamborghini here, Lorenzo. Clearly, they look like, anyway, that they've got the advantage here at the Roval, even for the moment. Anyway, obviously, we've still got to factor in those 5 cars that made their way in from practice. However, 1, 2, 3, 4 being the Lamborghini, that is a very strong showing, a very, very strong showing from them in this first part of qualifying. Yeah,
very good showing. It's a track I think favors the Lamborghini to the fact that it's not heavily bumpy like Long Beach and some of the other tracks in the fall season, like Laguna Seca and even Coda, that are bumpy tracks in terms of the curbing, and does not, and the Lamborghini kind of works in the ways of not being favored with bumps. So exploiting basically the draft groove and using the draft as well to your favor. I think that's why some of the Lamborghinis did really well over there. But I would say the Pure Sims car, don't count them out, because that Pure Sims car is really good. The Pure Sims, I mean the 117, the McLaren. The McLaren over here will struggle on the rears, maybe towards the second half of the races, but other than that, it's going to be really good, as they're going to line up towards the pit exit. So we are about 47 seconds away from Q2. If I have to pick a favorite, I'm probably going to say T3 at the 101. to take the pole right here as the championship leader needs to.
Yeah, absolutely. Iglesias has done such a great job all season long, and he's doing another one here with the current provisional pole position. Just under 30 seconds to go until we get to the end of qualifying. But yeah, let's see how everybody gets on, including the 5 teams that will join us after having been in the top 5 through the practice session. Ingersoll Randenosis Pro 1, that's Sergio Gomez, going to be going up for them. RSR by Bookkicker with Michal Limon. It's going to be for the 169 team. The other Ingersoll car is going to be out there, along with XPD ML Racing, the 190 of Ivan Hernandez, but also Jason Tails Racing, going to be pole sitters in AM, you would expect, if they can get inside the top 15 with their lap time. They still have to do the business here in terms of their lap time. But yeah, they're in Q2 because they got the top 5 in the practice session there, so they're going to have an advantage over World of Sim Racing team, who are currently leading that championship by over 100 points, but they didn't qualify at all. They're going to be starting 24th and dead last in this field here today. If there's any circuit on this calendar, other than maybe Long Beach, I wouldn't really want to be starting last here. I would be very nervous about that opening lap for them.
I think the fact that we have 24 cars kind of eases the mind a little bit of, not having to deal with, like, let's just say NASCAR, 40 cars going around the infield. So if I have to say in terms of numbers, 20th first place might not be bad after all, because you can make up the ground necessary. You just have to watch lap 1. And lap 1 with these tires, well, they are more grippy than the previous version. I think the aerodynamics come into effect right here to help out the cars to be more planted towards the ground. So I would say 20th fourth place, not the worst case scenario, but really it's not a scenario you really don't want to be in, coming from the back and trying to move up places and get towards the top. But well, races are races. Let's see.
And let's see what Sergio Gomez has got to offer here in the first lap of the second part of qualifying. Ingersoll Randenosis getting through with both of their cars, as they have done for the last couple of rounds actually, getting through nicely into the second part qualifying, keeping things very tight to the right hand side through turn 6, was impressive to see. Not seeing many cars able to do that, quite stick so close to the right hand side, and maximising it on the exit onto the Roval as well. Full commitment around here from Gomez. That's exactly what you need at a circuit like this, and I'm sure we're going to see the same again coming through the final chicane. Into the back straight chicane first though, at turn 11 and 12, sliding it in with the rears there, avoiding that wall on the left hand side. You do tend to get a little bit less close to that one because of the way the corner is, but this is going to be commitment into the final chicane for Gomez. Where is he going to get himself here? Late on the brakes, late as he dares. Bounce over that curve on the right hand side, he misses it, clobbers the one on the left, and he does grab the wall on the outside line ever so slightly. It's a 14.7 to start off with. Not his best lap time, but as you say, he might well just be able to kind of ramp it up ever so slightly throughout the stint. And also, the lap won't count, of course, if you clobber the wall quite that hard. He will have to go again, unfortunately.
Yeah, not the most optimal thing to see as Pure Sims moves into the top, but the standings with a 113.4. It isn't the 117 that I expected. RSR by Buckkicker now into third place with a 13.7. Very marginal gaps, but this second qualifying is showing to be slightly promising, as some of the drivers are trying to make up their best and have the best performance in the car. So now the 101 is pressed with their backs against the wall now. What would they do?
Well, here's the response. Iglesias weaves and he gets out the way of presumably cars coming up from behind. The 169, by the way, the RSL by Bookkicker cars got up into third. That's one of the cars getting through from practice, excuse me. Where was it? XBD ML Racing getting up into 7th place as well for them. Other than that, we haven't seen Ingersoll making an impression. Jason Tails Racing at 13th for them in the AM category, trying to put as many cars as they can between themselves and their nearest rivals, and of course World of Sim Racing, as it really does get dark now out here at the Charlotte Roval. But as we've already mentioned, very, very well lit, especially out here on the Roval. Only 13 thousandths of a second separating Reece Carroll and Tristan Iglesias at the moment. It is great to see Pure Sims versus Maniti absolutely going at it at the front of this field here. But there's still 10 minutes to go, and you get the feeling that T3 Motorsport by Maniti are going to be able to at least give a response here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As long as they don't get clobber in the pit lane with the RS Hybrid butt kicker. Like they just got a clobber in now. Pure Sims, I think, is the car right behind them. So there's a little bit of margin between Riscaro and Tristan Iglesias. So the Spaniard has the Pure Sims car up in the back, and RSR is slightly behind him as well. So I like this F1 style of marking each other's lines and trying to grab the shaft. The Ferrari's tactics include to qualify in a NASCAR track. Would have thought.
Oh, there's a spin. I'm afraid for 135. That's one of the Ingersoll cars. Not the car that this one was the one that clobbered the wall on the exit of the final corner. That was the other one, but not having much more luck, I'm afraid, for them. Yeah, I have to agree though. This start of qualifying is very enjoyable indeed. The kind of I don't know, open qualifying, I guess you'd call it, with everybody out there on the circuit is infinitely more enjoyable, in my opinion. But that's just my 2 cents. There you are.
Now, I got a question. Now that you mentioned open qualifying, are you in favor of open qualifying for the official series? Not official, but official series like VSS and IMSA and other things like that we have in iRacing.
I'm quite a fan of open qualifying at any time of the day, to be honest. I know people might say it's not fair. You have to obviously it's not a true test of pure lap time, but when you've not got the track to yourself. But I think it's more exciting from a viewer's point of view. I can see from a driver why it's a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, I understand that. I know it's something that I've been crossing on my mind lately, because we see close qualifyings. There's not too many series that we see open qualifying. I think none of the series that we have in iRacing has open qualifying, as far as I can recall. But it would be an interesting one to see if there would be tactics from teams, following each other or something like that. Let's hope in the future we see a series that we have open qualifying, and then judge the drivers by their traffic management skills on open series, where the iRating matters.
Yes. Maybe for one series rather than doing it blanket for everybody. Would be a good idea, because it is complicated. Sergio Gomez comes up towards the line at the moment. A nice time from him, a 14.4. At least it gets him on the board there in 11th place. But yeah, I feel like he's been closed for so long now that RSC would not change everything. Obviously, we're too far in at this stage, but yes, it's an interesting proposition for the future, maybe. What does the future bring for this qualifying session, though? We're just about halfway through the second part of it, with 7.5 minutes to go, and Iglesias is pushing the limits and some, getting into the grass ever so slightly through turn 4 there, trying to chase down Pure Sims Esports. He doesn't need much of an advantage to reclaim that pole position. But it's going to be a very difficult advantage to gain back. These margins are so close. These guys are on top of their game, and so it's absolutely neck and neck at the moment.
Yeah, and I saw Jason Tails going to P11, so taking kind of expectedly the pole position for the AM class. So nice to see that. Iglesias with a really good braking coming into the chicane, the back stretch chicane. Now, how does he stick into the line of number 1? Because historically for Indy, as he probably goes into the pit lane for change of tires and a little bit of fuel. Historically in NASCAR and Indy, when I jumped to those tracks, that blue line, funny enough, it's funny that you don't see the amount of grip you can get on that car. It's absurd. You can get lots of grip going to the blue line, and you can stick into that. You can basically be aggregate about a tenth quicker on the lap.
It's interesting to see that kind of the oval kind of things coming into effect. It's certainly an interesting one, but how many of these guys are going to know about it? How many of them are going to use it, etc.? As Eclipse Racing team, with Sam Mee trying to improve at the moment, ever so slightly down at the moment, 13th position, which is 3rd in the Pro-Am category. Emma Wingbo hasn't even left the pit lane again, since he set that lap time in the first part of qualifying, because the times carry over and there's absolutely no need for him to go out again by the looks of things. With just over 5 minutes to go, nobody can get near him in the Pro-Am category. As we look once again at the 101 car, certainly going to be concerned down at 5-Star Motorsport though in the context of this championship. The 105 is 6 positions behind, or 5 positions behind I should say, behind their most feared rivals, and they're 40 points behind coming into today. They really do need an improvement in this qualifying session or a much better race, because they're half a second down as well.
Oh yeah, but even though they are not far behind, the race is still long, and the one thing we're going to see quite a lot is the drag effect, especially in the ovals. So being first is not being second, apologies, is not the worst thing in history, because the only thing you need to do is kind of like survive lap 1 and then be behind the leader, and regardless of where you are. Basically from lap 2 onwards is just try to hang tight as you can on the infield. So on the outfield going to the oval section, you're gonna gain so much time with the drag of the GT3 cars that you're gonna have plenty of action going to the backstretch chicane and maybe into the final chicane itself for overtakes.
We certainly are looking forward to that. 4 minutes to go. Iglesias making his way out onto the oval again, pushing the limits as much as possible. Lap car just up high at the moment. Going to be hoping that they don't get in the way here. Looking down low and then out towards the right hand side to maximise the chicane. I don't think he even touched 6th gear there. I think he just used the high end of 5th. Almost running out of breath going down towards the back straight chicane, but got away with it. Now through the final 2 corners of the oval and into the final chicane. Can he find those 13 thousandths that he needs? It's so close at the moment. Doesn't need much of an improvement to get there at all, but he's nicely over the curves there. A bit of a slide, and it is enough, is it? Not quite. He misses out by 200ths. He's getting so close at the moment. 3.5 minutes though, he's going to be able to go again.
Yeah, and the worst thing that it can happen for Tristan is he doesn't have drafter or someone to share draft with him on the ovals and then try to open up, because, well, you can do that if you have a teammate, but I think for now you really don't want to have a guy in front, especially in the infield, that can block your lap or invalidate your lap. So Tristan pushing the edges and the boundaries of the car, as he's probably going to go into the pit lane for pit stop, tire change, and maybe one last attempt with that Lamborghini Huracan Evo car.
He's going to be pushing it close, of course, but he's just about going to have time to do all of that. Get out there and get out for one final attempt at this. It's definitely Pearson versus T3 Motorsport by Maniti in terms of this pole position battle. Now what's he going to do here? Is he going to just set himself up and go for one final attempt now, or come into the pit lane? It looks like a one final attempt right now. Doesn't look to be quite going at the pace he was earlier, or is he? It is enough. Just under a 13.4. And by 0.5 of a second, Iglesias goes to the top. It was so calm and composed, I didn't even think he was on a push lap. It was so... It was so within the lines, it was so calm, so composed, as I say, but he was absolutely going for that, and he's taken enough. Now it's up to Reece Carroll to find this 0.5 of a second.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering if T3 got that from the Mercedes AMG F1 playbook of, do two laps, try to heat up the tires, and then go for a blistery fast lap, and apparently it did work out for them at the end of the day. Now, Reece Carroll, what do you have in store with that Lamborghini of yours to try to snatch back the pole position?
He's going to give it everything, you can be sure of that, but that's the VC Sim Racing Pro-Am BMW just up in front. It's on a lap at the moment by the looks of things, that car, trying to at least get a little bit closer to the Valorous Motorsport Pro-Am car in the order, even if he's not going to make up another Pro-Am place. Into the back straight chicane. Carroll very nicely through there with a bit of slipstream as well, which is going to help him along with only 1 minute to go. Is this going to be enough? He's going to have one more attempt if he wants it in the final minute of this session, but it's actually going to hard end, isn't it? So this could be it for Carroll. He misses that apex on the right hand side slightly, hits the wall, and it's a 13.5. It won't be enough. Paris Carroll and Pure Sims Esports. T3 Motorsport by Maniti are going to take pole here at the Charlotte Roval. And Carroll did throw everything at that, but it wasn't quite enough. These two are going to put on a great show throughout the race.
What about Emerald snatching P3 out of the RSL Brook Kicker in the final 30 seconds of this qualifying? Oh boy, this qualifying turned its heads like in a way we didn't expect. Nice to see T3 fighting back, then we see XPD Emerald Racing the snatching P3, so this start is going to be promising for most of the cars in my opinion. But the one car we kind of expected to see up in the top 5 is not, which is 5-star, and they're going to be in the back once again trying to fight for positions.
Yeah, 4th row back, which is a long way if you're trying to win a championship with only 4 rounds to go. So they have got work to do. Rooney Janssens is going to be starting that car. He's going to have to hand over to somebody else because Adam Isaacson at Long Beach already took up their one race where they're allowed to not change drivers. The 101 car has also done that with Tristan Iglesias at Cota. He made full advantage of that, taking 2 wins on the day. Let's see if we can do it again in that T3 Motorsport by Maniti Corey. Starting from first, head of Reece Carroll. It's going to be a great fight between those two. XP Emil Racing with a great late lap time there to move up to 3rd. It's RSR by Bookkicker in their Mercedes 4th. Emil Vimbo with the first Pro-Am car is in 5th alongside Eric Grove, the first of the McLarens for Pure Sims Esports. Then T3 Motorsport by Maniti's second car alongside the championship contending 5-star Motorsport Rooney Janssens driven Lamborghini. Then it's Olympus Esports and Ingersoll Random-Notice on the 5th row. At VC Sim Racing are 11th ahead of the AMS pole sitters. Jason Tells Racing 12th place for Carl Darmark. Then its Clips Racing team will be alongside Vector by OSR and Westwood Racing Esports round out the top 15. Rusty Spatulas are 16th ahead of Quasar Sim Racing, who share the 9th row of the grid with Vector by RSR. Niels Chester is going to be disappointed with his performance so far. Oblivion Racing and T3 Motorsport by Maniti are just behind him on the 10th row. E-Team Brit making their return for the first time in 4 rounds in 21st ahead of Quasar Sim Racing's Amcar. Ingersoll Randanosis only 23rd for them despite making it into the second part of qualifying. No lap time able to get down. Wood of Sim Racing also didn't set a lap time. They will be bringing up the rear here at Charlotte. There are the cars. We've got a NASCAR style formation lap coming up as well, which is something a little bit different. But yeah, there's a little bit different about this particular race. We're on a Roval for a start. This circuit is absolutely wild. It's going to be very exciting. The 101 car versus the 116. Surely it's a battle between Iglesias and Carroll over the next hour.
Oh yeah, and probably maybe, and I would say likely, I would say P3, if they can hang on tight for maybe the first 3 laps with the draft on the back stretch and there is no opening between XPD Emerald Racing, we could see something happen over there as well. What is going to be also interesting maybe might be the position P2 battle in the Pro-Am class if nothing happens to Valorous between Jonathan Hanozera and also San Mi in the Eclipse Racing team. So VC Sim Racing Rouge and Eclipse could be battling for P2 and they need those points to try to get closer and closer in the championship on the Pro-Am standings because right now they're not in favorable positions right now.
Certainly not. As we make our way through the infield section here at Charlotte. We've seen in the past here, Turn 1, an absolute calamity in some of the NASCAR races here over the last few years. Lorenzo, it's a playoff race, of course, which probably heightens the drama a little bit there. What kind of Turn 1 are we expecting here? Because it's faster than people realise, I think.
It's fast. It's way more faster than, of course, seeing 3-ton cars going around the track like that, and I say 3 tons kind of jokingly, but that's nearly how much a NASCAR car actually weighs. So it's cars that have much more downforce, have much better speed or acceleration. So it's going to be frantic. Like I said, aerodynamics might hold the cars a little bit more glued to the ground. So don't expect too many cars maybe falling off. Maybe only in the transition from 2 to 3, where we start to get the banked infield turns. Though other than that, it's going to be a very frantic first lap. If we see any incidents, might be in the middle of the field.
24 cars and 12 rows of cars out here today, though, which is a little bit lower than what we've seen in the past somewhat. One of the Vector Bauer SR cars, interestingly, has actually gone to the back here. Not entirely sure whether that was down to a penalty or what that was down to at all, to be honest. But they have gone to the back, and they'll be sharing the back row with the 135 Ingersoll Random Notice car that wasn't able to get a lap time in throughout the final part of qualifying. So then, we make our way through NASCAR turns 3 and 4 and towards the start-finish line here at the Charlotte Roval. It's going to be a wild couple of races, starting with an hour here in race 1, then we're going to reverse the top 20 and do it all over again. It's going to be Tristan Iglesias on the inside line, Reese Carroll giving him a hard time on the outside for Pure Sims Esports. 5-Star Motorsport back all the way in 8th place, trying to keep this championship alive for just a little bit longer. We make our way towards the start-finish line here at Charlotte, under the lights, here at the Roval, waiting to get underway with Iglesias in control of the field. The green flag, we wait very long indeed, but we finally go. With the field very stacked up indeed. RSR go backwards in the Mercedes as we all stack up into turn 1. It's a nice stop from Iglesias. Carroll does a pretty good start as well. Second place for him. We look like we've all got through nice and cleanly through turns 1 and 2, but that RSR by Bookkicker car went absolutely nowhere, and the Mercedes is way outside the top 5.
Yeah, but that's on their fault. They try to jump start whenever they got the green flag. They try to jump everybody up in front, but it's the leader who decides when to start. It's not the green flag that decides who's to start. So unfortunately, because of that attempt of a jump starting, because he thought the leader was actually going to go, they fell back. Oh no!
Chaos on the entry to the oval. Turn number 8 claims a few victims, and it's Ingersoll Randanosis Sergio Gomez who's gone around by the looks of things. World of Sim Racing's Diego Vasquez looks like he's also gone around on this first lap for World of Sim Racing. We'll get a few replays of the start when it all calms down, because we're coming towards the end of the first lap, but that transition onto the oval, is so difficult, as Westwood Racing Esports also dropping down. Not entirely sure what's happened to them.
They were the car that made contact with the Ingersoll. I think they missed the braking point. Yeah, they totally missed the braking point by some reason. I think they thought they were going to make it, and unfortunately fell several spots back.
Oh dear. Big drama, big championship drama for Benjamin Opienkowski, who loses out on loads of places. Luckily for him, the World of Sim Racing car the T3 Motorsport by Maniti car didn't have a great start. As we look at this, it was only slight contact, but clearly it's enough for Westwood Racing Esports to want to come in. I'm quite surprised, I have to say, that only 2 cars got involved in that. This is a very poorly looking World of Sim Racing AM car. These guys are championship leaders in AM as well. Big drama on this opening lap.
Yeah, according to our own friend Lewis McGlade, that is suboptimal. A little bit of a dive from the Porsche. The Porsche managed to help, but unfortunately that's the Eclipse Racing team that got involved into this. Might get a penalty eventually down the line. And the stack-up cars that had right after the Westwood incident was very clean. I thought they were actually going to pile up pretty quickly, but good to see everybody just getting out unscathed, and Westwood race is basically done.
Yeah, it looks like it. They'll try and get some repairs and try and get some points from this race, you would imagine, but it's going to be difficult for them to do that. They'll really want top 20 as well to get that reverse grid benefit. They'll be hoping that there's going to be a few incidents over the next 57 minutes. Vector Bauer, it looks like Jason Tails Racing are having a few problems with the connection, by the way, because they are dropping back ever so slightly, then jumping back into place, as are T3 Motorsport by Maniti, but they look like they're all fine. This is chaos up at the back of the field. Opienkowski here is just trying to stay out of the way of everybody, but you've got to say Westwood Racing Esports, very unlucky. A car spinning in front of them, not a lot you can do about that, and also it wasn't a lot of contact that's given them quite a lot of damage there, so they are pretty unlucky to still be in the pit lane at the moment, and that is a real shame for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No blame on them at all. It was just collateral damage that was inflicted into the Westwood car, a car that was the winner in the Pro-Am class in Long Beach, and had their hopes and dreams to try to get closer in the championship, but unfortunately now I think that's going to go down in a very Titanic way of sorts. They have to make back in race 2. I don't know how they're gonna do that. But remember when I said that if we see incidents, would be right in the middle of the field. Call me Nostradamus, please.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my, Mihail Limon getting very close there to the wall, but yeah, you're right. It has transpired that way. Meanwhile, by the way, as everybody runs very wide there, Olympus Esports and Matt Loveridge is going to be under pressure now into the next couple of turns. 5 and 6, the right-handers, and then 7 and 8 out onto the oval again. The Mercedes pushing that Lamborghini almost onto the banking once more. But yeah, a little bit further down, Rudy Nopveld is in the pit lane right now because of an incident on that last lap for T3 Motorsport by Maniti's 173 car. All this promoting, of course, 5-Star Motorsport up positions once more, closer to their championship rivals. This is how it happened. We're coming through turn 4 at the moment. I think it's a spin out of here onto the grass. Not able to save it. Oh dear, into the wall, very hard there.
Yeah, not suboptimal, but unfortunate for that T3 car. And good chance. Oh, Emil hitting the wall right there on the exit of the last turn. But still within the draft, that the Pure Sims car, of course, not going to be wholly effective on the small stretches of tarmac. It will be big on the oval side as Valor is trying to fight for a possible race win that would basically bring for the first time into this fall championship a winner in the Pro-Am class. We didn't see one just yet. We saw Westwood winning the class, but it wasn't an overall winner. They actually were into basically the top 5, but now Valor's with the first real shot of winning this.
Yeah, absolutely. We were sort of close to seeing this at Long Beach. It looked, because the pro cars were so stacked up behind everybody in the reverse grid race. We got sort of close, but it didn't quite happen. Now Valorous Motorsport do have an opportunity. You did note, though, that Bimbo hit the wall on the exit of the final corner there. It looked more like a scrape on the wall than anything. Is that kind of thing going to do much damage at a circuit like this? It doesn't look like it's hurting him for the moment.
Oh, you'd be surprised. Depending on how you hit the wall, you actually can get a meatball flag. It just goes like that. It's kind of like you're playing any, I don't know, one of those hard games I really don't want to mention, and you're basically stacked up with RNG. So, because of that RNG, you might get a meatball or not, depending on how you hit the car. It all depends on the angle. Even the slightest it can actually get you a meatball on that safe barrier.
Looks like, for the moment, they're at least continuing at a decent pace as we go back to the RSR by Buckingham Mercedes. 3 cars already been into the pit lane, by the way. Diego Vasquez of Wooders Sim Racing Team, the championship leaders of the AM category, as I mentioned, are in again. Unfortunately, they are continuing to drop back at this stage, but the T3 Motorsport by Maniti and Westwood Racing Esports cars have both been able to rejoin, as we see outside line for the Mercedes at the moment, long way around there into the back straight chicane, but a nice run through, and Matt Loveridge is going to have his hands full here into the final chicane. Look at how close this RSR Bubble Kicker car is, moving to the outside line around the banking here, but it's not quite like the oval. You're not going to make that work very easily. You want to dive down the inside here. That's exactly what they've done into the final chicane. It's very nice. It is very good indeed. The Mercedes gets through, and VC Sim Racing going to follow through as well. Nicely
done by RSR Buckicker. If you have to commit right there. Ow.
Off the road, Matt Loveridge into turn 1. Completely losing the rear, and Olympus Esports, so that's adding insult to injury there. They've dropped from 7th to 10th in a matter of corners.
Yeah, not the best thing, and the problem is, well, catching too much coming to turn number 1, you hit basically the back out of the car. And remember, the engine of this car is in the back. I don't know how much engine damage there will be in the car, but surely they're going to lose a few kilometers per hour, maybe 5 or 6 kilometers per hour, and that will be big. If you're on your own on the oval section, you might lose about a 10th or 2 right there, or even 3 depending on the circumstances.
Yeah, very good point. As XBD Emerald Racing get onto the podium now, is Vingbo starting to feel the effects of a bit of damage? Is he, or is he? What's happening here? Because well, it looks like he's just slowing down on this particular lap for whatever reason. His last lap time was pretty good, but this lap time looks like it's going to be terrible, because he's lost a place and nearly 3 seconds out to the leaders now. jump over the curves again and out over the line. What are the kind of lap times going to be here? 14.8 from Hernandez, which is acceptable. A 16.4 from Vingbo, which is very slow indeed, certainly slower than these two. 2 seconds slower indeed than we're seeing from these two. That Valorous Motorsport car is falling back.
Yeah, what happened is right on turn number 7 and 8, Emil had a very, very bad run-in, and the car got slightly loose and actually went far to the outside on the merging off the oval. I think he grazed the wall a little bit, and whenever you graze that wall, it's kind of hard for you to make the ground back, even if you go down into the oval banking, into the bottom part, into lane number 1. And Emerald's line was just more cleaner. So Ivan Hernandez now into P3.
A great performance at the moment from XBDMO Racing, who've really got a lot better as the season has gone on. And this is one of their best performances to date. Bathstar Motorsport, by the way, just interestingly, do indeed have a different livery on today. Normally you see the orange and silver. You can still see some silver highlights and so on, but they've gone with the orange and black on this occasion. Much darker, much stealthier livery for this race here at the Charlotte Oval. I couldn't tell you exactly why, but there we are. They've gone for something slightly different.
They're trying to blend in with the environment.
Yeah, I was going to say, it does make them look very, very stealthy in the darkness here at Charlotte. Meanwhile, less than 50 minutes remaining in this race, just 10 minutes gone, and it's everything we expected it to be up front. Iglesias versus Carroll. But you've got to remember, these two have got to hand over to their teammates in about 20 minutes time. And so how is that going to affect things? Because we know these two are very well matched, but are their teammates equally well matched? Does one have an advantage over the other?
Yeah, man, I'm trying to look also in the meanwhile. I saw Pure Sims moving from P5 to P4. Trying to see, Emil just having much more issues as he goes down hard into the tire barrier of turn number 3. And now the car is properly damaged in the front end, maybe in the left-hand side.
If we can maybe get a little look at what happened there. As we got a change for the lead, Reese Carroll has gone through those things into the final chicane. So, not sure if that was a mistake from Iglesias or good driving from Carroll, but he has indeed got through for Pure Sims. Let's have another look at what happened. It's a nice run through the back straight chicane. He's hounding the back of the 101 going into the final corners, and it looks like he's made his way through. He just ducks out at the perfect moment, diving down late on the brakes, and it's difficult to go side by side through here. There was a little bit of argy-bargy nearly, but in the end, the T3 Motorsport by Maniti Lamborghini had to give that one up.
Yeah, right on the braking zone. Try to, I can see that Riz try to use a little bit of a side draft, but they were so close to one another that the bunking of the cars, a door-to-door contact actually happened. So, somewhat of a breath hold movement right there, because you have to hold your breath a little bit. You don't know if you're going to spin around or not. But other than that, really good racing between both of them. That actually brings Emerald a little bit closer towards the T3 car, even though the gap is still over a second.
Yeah, that battle has slowed them down a little bit. Bingbo's still struggling, as you can see, although he's stopped losing so much time quite so quickly. McLaren has got through. Pure Sims Esports now into the top 4. Let's not forget, that's a big jump over the curb for Vingbo, and he's going to get overtaken by Rooney Janssens now into turn number 1. Almost difficult not to overtake this car right now. It does not look good to drive for Valorous Motorsport. They're going to be looking over their shoulder, not only in terms of overall positions here, but for VEC Sim Racing. They are closing in very quickly. This is how it happened at the final chicane.
They on line number 1, going to the braking zone. Does the car get loose? No, he just attacks way too much curb and bunking into the wall. And that hit just accrues damage after damage after damage, and the optionals just keep accruing up. I think it's going to be over a minute in terms of damage on that car. He's going to be more reliant on being in the draft now to try to make overtakes than actually pure pace, but after the first 3-4 laps of this race, Emil's race just basically going down like a waterfall.
It's really not going well at all. 2 retirements already from this race, I'm afraid to say. We've already mentioned the World of Sim Racing AM car. The Kazarsim Racing AM car also out of this race. Not entirely sure why, but Brett Goddard has also retired from this one. I'm afraid a few laps ago. T3 match put by Maniti's second pro car. He's also in the pit lane at the moment, getting repairs still after in the last 6 minutes. So clearly, whatever problems that have been plaguing them so far have not been fixed so far. Although Westwood Racing Esports have been able to fix some of theirs. This might be a problem for Michael Tyler, I think, for E-Team Brit. Oh, this might give us a bit more of a clue. Now, who's that? Because there was, yeah, who is it? It looks like an AM battle. Oh, this is what happened to Kazar Sim Racing, indeed. Through turn 5, into the wall, and into the side of someone else as well. So, unfortunately, that has ended their first race in a pretty unfortunate fashion. Very long right-hander at 5 and 6, and very difficult corners, just losing the rear there by lots of things.
Yeah, because you're going on uphill crest and the curve is slightly blind. You have to be. The one thing you cannot do on that car, or any car specifically, is try to brake while you're doing any turns, and that is the thing is a universal rule. If you're gonna brake while you're turning, the likelihood of the back end stepping out is gonna be nearly 100%. That's what happens with the Quasar car, just grabbing too much grip into the entry of turn number 6, and the car just stepped out of its way. Unfortunate.
It is indeed. That's been for I think Vingbo has been off again here. The Pro-Am leader's lost his lead. He's been off at turn 1. Had a spin there. Just heard it in the background. You saw the headlights maybe flashing at the bottom of your screen. It was this car going around. Valorous Motorsport with such a fantastic, wonderful start to the day. We were almost beginning to wonder aloud whether they could win the race overall. But all of a sudden they're not even going to win the Pro-Am race if this carries on, because it's a spin for Vingbo. It's not even on that curb. They've just lost the rear there.
Yeah, they got lucky. They kind of like grinded the wall on turn number 1, and the car just managed to stop halfway through and didn't hit the inside wall of the pit exit. But other than that, we have a battle for P4S 5-star. Hey, remember when we said that 5-star was in 8th place? Now they managed into the top 5, and for Pearson's in the T3 car, they really don't want to have a really fast car climbing up the field and being able to make overtakes.
Yeah, it really looked like they were in trouble. Oh, that was a bit of a bonk on the wall.
Yep.
Janssen just getting into contact. We've seen how much small contact can even affect one of these cars. You've got to be careful, and there's still nearly 3/4 of this race to go. So you really do have to watch out. Going a little bit wide through 3 and 4 there, but applying the pressure to that McLaren, currently up in 4th position. Let's not forget this McLaren is 96 points off of the 101 car in the championship, so just still have a shot at this, but it's difficult for them. It's difficult to really see them getting anywhere with that. It is a long way back at this stage in the season, especially considering how the 101 team are doing. In Pro-Am, by the way, as well, Westwood Racing Esports only losing 7 points as things stand, only losing 6 points, I should say, as things stand in the Pro-Am category. So what was looking like an absolute disaster when they got into contact on lap 1 is actually turning into not bad at all. They just need to get into the top 20, and then they will be in a good place. Speaking of being in a good place, Bruni Janssens is about to be in one. Down the inside into the final chicane. It takes bravery to go down the inside there, and he didn't quite have it on that occasion.
No, not at all. But then again, for you to make an overtake over there, you need to be side by side. You cannot make a dive bomb like NASCAR drivers do and try to go for glory or basically failure. You need to be side by side and into these cars and try to use the ABS going into the braking, and then commit on the curbings and make sure you don't get a slowdown penalty or even a floor damage on the car. So Rune is playing the smart game right here, even though he might be losing maybe a tenth or something like that to the fronts, the guys in front. That's what you need to do if you want to make clean overtakes and still be in contention for the championship.
Yeah, this is a good 6 seconds up to the 3rd place XPD MO Racing car. Not really a battle going on at the top 3 at the moment. They're all at a frustrating distance where they can't really make a move from where they are, but they're also close enough to start thinking about it. Bit of a frustrating place to be. these guys are losing time a little bit. This McLaren doesn't look like it quite has the pace maybe of some of the Lamborghinis around. At the moment there's 4 in the top 5. And 5-Star Motorsport looking to make it 4 in the top 4 as we go into turn 1. He's so close. Jansen's having a sniff around into turn number 1, but not able to make the move there. Not going to make the move there, but likely out of choice as well, because it would be brave or stupid, depending on who you ask. Going through 3 and 4, and still has to stare at the flame-throwing McLaren just up in front of him.
Which will be a letdown once the new McLaren comes, if the new McLaren 720 or whatever the new numeration or numerals of the McLaren GT3s will come into iRacing eventually in the future. And this be speculating. We're going to miss those flamethrowers. Not the biggest fan of the car. The rear is a little bit a handful for you to deal with, so you kind of have to fiddle with the setup to make sure the back end doesn't step out too much. But look at the commitment out of the 5-star car to try to get closer on the braking and then close the gap going into the chicane. Nice one. No crash. That's what we want to see.
Yes, certainly. Into the final chicane, looking to replicate if they can. A nice run through here. I had a really good run through here on the previous lap. Almost gave him a go into turn number 1, but it's hard to make any move through there. Oh my word! That was a big save from Jansen's. The car nearly went around. It nearly snapped back into the right-hand side and into the wall. But he just about saved it. That was all arms and elbows there. And he's just about kept it out of the barrier. That was very important indeed. And his heart rate will certainly be up after that.
Say the very least.
Now, this is a bit of a resurgence. Emil Vingbo, all of a sudden, is on the back of the VC Sim Racing car for the lead in Pro-Am. I've no idea where he's found this pace from, because he was in free fall a few laps ago. All of a sudden, he's moving back forwards again by the looks of things.
Yeah, let me look at the last lap from Vimbo right here. 14.954. I don't know if there was draft assisted. Most likely it was draft assisted, but Emil finding a groove on the car once again. Just need to be clean. He needs to be clean, because I think on paper he has better pace than Jonathan Hazanoera, so he might be able to overtake the driver, the French driver, and go for P1 in the class. As does Emil go for the move right here? No, he's just gonna try to stay close as he can. With still nearly more than a half hour to go. Actually, we're 8 minutes. So yeah, nearly a half hour to go in this race. Hey, what is 8 minutes?
And just 3 minutes towards the pit window as well, in which everybody will have to make a stop. Oh my word! Sergio Gomez eventually finds the wall quite hard as well in the 134. That Audi, oh my word, that Audi is not looking healthy at the back now. They're surely going to have to be in, or at least nurse it until the pit stop window. But that was heavy contact for Gomez, and it's not been a good race for them. Let's not forget they spun at the end of lap 1, or halfway through lap 1, here at turn 8, and that just adds to their problems now. Oh, see it goes Vingbo down the inside. The VC Sim Racing car pulls to the outside line and almost lets the Lamborghini through. I've no idea why they're not exactly fighting over that one, but for whatever reason, VC
I can
Sim
tell
Racing...
you why.
Yeah, go on.
Why are you going to fight at the chicane if you can find out the other chicane, use a draft, and basically try to, you know, snatch back the position? You know, play the smart game. Also, you can play the field game as well, since we have a pitwood now.
Yeah, I suppose so. As we got a little bit over the curbs there for Vingbo, but yeah, I mean, yeah, very puzzling. Vingbo was really already struggling, I should say, earlier on in this race with everything with regards to that Lamborghini, but now all of a sudden he's found a bit of pace again. He's picked it up and he's back into the lead here of Pro-Am. VC Sim Racing a second, Kazar Sim Racing third in Pro-Am, Rusty Spatulas fourth, and then it's Eclipse Racing Team in fifth. You'll notice neither of the championship contenders are involved in that, because they're 6th and 7th at the moment, a long way back on where they arguably should be. Though only a minute and a half here. It does look like, until the pit stop window I should say, Reece Carroll does look like he has the advantage over Tristan Iglesias. But will T3 Motorsport by Maniti bring that car in early in the 101? to maybe get a bit of a jump on Pure Sims. What is going to happen throughout this pit stop window? They won't be able to come in next lap, but the one after, they will be able to come in. And then who knows what's going to happen with this pit stop cycle? Who knows what's going to happen with the 190? Great drive from them at the moment. Hernandez doing a wonderful job in third.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job in third. Really, let me look at the laps right here. 14.4 for Pure Sims, 14.5 for Tristan, and 14.2. So this would have been XPD's best lap in the race, to be very honest. But because they had, I think, a grind in the wall or something of the nature, they are losing time. So the lap wasn't validated. But nevertheless, that 190, using the draft to the best of his capabilities, 0.7 separates him and Iglesias right in front. So now the Spaniards can use the fuel saving towards the advantage, clutch it out a little bit, go on the clutch on the back stretch, and try to play the numbers. Maybe you can get a lap or two depending on how fiddling you really want to be with the car against your opponents.
Let's see. Of course, these guys will have to make a driver change as well.
Yep.
All three of these will not be in the car for the remainder of this race as we go past half distance. Excuse me, not past half distance just yet. But we are into the pit stop window, and so expect to see quite a few in early if indeed you maybe got your slower driver in, or you just want to get out a bit of traffic if you're a little bit further down the order. But if those who are happy with where they are will want to stay out. I don't think Carroll will want to be out there for too much longer though, because this track's so short they're catching up to the back of the lapped cars already, and they're all battling. So that's going to slow everybody down quite a lot, despite blue flags.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can lose up to a second or two depending where you get those cars, and that would be not good for your run. So now that the pit window is open, basically that's the worst part of being leader. You are in the traffic and you don't know if you should dictate the pit, when you should pit, or where you should pit, or if the guy in second does. Because if the guy in second basically holds the cars down, that they have traffic in range, and say, oh, I'm gonna pit now, get another cut on you because you're gonna lose time. But nearly everybody, like I said, T3 pit, I was gonna say they were gonna pit, but no, they're staying out on track. But Amaro is actually pitting, so third place dealing the cards first and foremost.
Yeah, Hernandez not willing to deal with them. However, unfortunately for him, a couple of lapped cars came in there as well. So that's not going to be too good for him as he pulls left there into his box. Tries not to go too deep, of course. There are rules about running through too many pit boxes here at IVRA. You don't want to be completely streaking through everybody's pit box because you will get a penalty. So 1.2 seconds, 1 and 2 at the moment. Bit of free track again, so you'd say they might stay out a bit longer. In terms of this race for the 190, are they going to come out in clean air or not? That really is the key for them here. If they're in a lot of traffic, then it's going to be very hard for them to make up any time at all for Miguel Rangel. But if he's in free air, then this could be on here. Very tight pit lane exit here, of course, and it spits you right back onto the racing line, heading down towards 3. But they have a few bits of clean air here for Rangel to just get used to being out here at the moment, in the darkness, of course. And he's going to need to push as quickly as possible as Pure Sims Esports and Reese Carroll come in.
Yeah, so like I said, I think that was the proper move for Pure Sims to come in early. Let T3 maybe lose a little bit of ground to the traffic up ahead, but I say traffic up ahead, the first car that is in terms of traffic is actually the Ingersoll Rendenosis car that is actually just joining the oval. So Iglesias, what basically has in hand is a really fast lap, come into the pit box and maybe get the overcut. That's what they need to do. The sister car, the McLaren of Pure Sim, stays out on track as well.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, here is the McLaren. You can just see in some of these shots. The 116 has all of a sudden dropped down our order a lot, but I think that's just because they're making driver change. Jesse Stevens getting into the car. Should be back. Yeah, should be back to normal again. Then, for some reason got the lap taken off them, but anyway, that's not been the case. They're back out again now, and they do have a very nice margin over XPDMO Racing to the tune of 5.5 seconds. So it looks like the podium is probably the limit for that 190 team. We go back to Barrelsar versus Ingersoll Randonnosis, over 8th position now, but this is all out of position, of course, now because of these pit stops now being made. It's all kind of going to be a game of when do you come in from the leads in the 101 team, as the McLaren also comes in from Pure Sims Esports. A decent opening stint here for Eric Grove, considering the situation. It does look like those Lamborghinis have a little bit of an edge on him, and they are going to have to watch their backs for 5-star Motorsport pretty much all day long, you would say. But it's not a bad start to see this McLaren inside the top 5 once again.
No, it's not. It's very good to see the McLaren fighting the Lamborghinis. Like I said, the McLaren back end, so the rear tires take a little bit more punishment than what the Lamborghini actually takes in its rear tires. So you need to find that setup that kind of balances out the tires. And one other thing here, the right side, because you have the oval, does take a little bit of a beating as well, because you're going to high speeds. Of course, it's not up to 300 kilometers per hour like some of the cars in NASCAR go, and their weight of the cars. So the stress that you put on the right hand side is not absurd as you can possibly think of. But with that being said, really good synth from the McLaren, as D3 still stays on track.
They do. D3 Motorsport and Maniti, of course, now merged together once more. Well, I say once more, they have been for a little while now. It has been the case for a lot of this season, if not all of it. I'm glad they kept the same livery though. That's a decent thing for us. As Michal Limon, after a decent stint in the Mercedes, comes in for RSR by Bookkicker, promoting another few cars. Still waiting for a good 8 cars to come into the pit lane here, including 2 Pro-Ams, including 4 Pro-Ams I should say. Olympus Esports find their pit box here. Matt Loveridge ends his stint in 8th position. Going to be getting out the car as well as Iglesias continues. Surely, if he stayed out this long, 6 minutes into the window, he's going to stay out for another couple of laps and push this one out as far as he can. We'll see if he does that. But he's just pushing out the lap times as fast as possible right now. 4 minutes of the window remaining. He can probably fit 3 laps in if he's very quick. Probably 2 to be on the safe side. He is putting some lap times down very quickly indeed. 14.2 from him on the last lap. What was it from Jesse Stevens? 9/10 quicker. We'll see what Stevens has got to offer on this particular lap, but the fact that Iglesias is putting down fastest lap times of the race so far is a statement.
Yeah, and I think we kind of expected that from the T3 car, pushed to the very brim of the car, going to the very top of the pit window. So we expect that car to maybe pit this lap or the other, depending on circumstances. But judging how fast that car went in this lap, we can predict that is very low on fuel. That is maybe on the final laps, maybe 1-2 laps remaining of fuel. So I do think they're going to be able to get the jump on Pure Sims on that 116 car, and it's not going to be close.
Well, let's see how close it is. Pure Sims currently down in 9th in the standings. That's not corrected order just yet. Olympus Esports just in front of Iglesias here, which is not great news for the current leaders. As they bounce across the curves at the final turn. It was a 14.2 last time around, 1 second quicker than Stevens. It's another fastest lap of the race so far, a 14.1 this time from Iglesias. He's now going to be slowed up by the lap car. So this lap is going to be a little bit slower, and I would argue that he probably should have come in last lap, because now he's losing some of his advantage.
Oh, yeah. You need to come in now. Basically, the problem is I'm just trying to take a look at how fast was Pure Sims in this lap. 1:15.2. So I don't know how slow that lap is going to be, because but they're losing about a full second, the T3 car. So damage assessment, go to pits, that's your time, and see where you come out on top. I still think you're gonna come out of a second ahead of Pure Sims. I don't know.
Yeah, it might just be enough here, but I reckon they've lost a good second and a half here. We're not going to find out, because Iglesias is going to be in the pit lane, you would imagine. at the end of this lap. Surely he's got to be in here, not least because of the time remaining. He could probably go around for one more, but does he want to stay behind this Olympus Esports car for another lap? The answer is a resounding no, and he comes into the pit lane. The sensible choice, but has that come one lap too late? That decision there might just have cost him the race. It's a bit early to say, of course, and he still might get the position because of those fast lap times. But it was very costly, very, very costly indeed to be staying behind Olympus Esports for that whole lap. And now we'll see where this car can get to.
Yeah, looking at Pure Sims just on the back stretch, going into the braking off the chicane. Just trying to take a look really quickly on the lap average. You got about 20 seconds average on everybody else for you to do your job in terms of fuel and maybe one tire or something like that. So this is gonna be really close, I expect.
Let's see, Jesse Stevens makes his way into the final couple of corners, bouncing across those curbs at the final chicane, trying to get this lap. He's out of the pit lane now, is Matska, and surely he's going to have the lead here to the tune of about 3 seconds. T3 Motorsport by Maniti have pulled off the overcut by the looks of things.
Boy.
Tristan Iglesias' lap times were unbelievable. Even that final lap where he lost so much time didn't even matter in the end, and so now they have nearly a 3-second margin with Tim Matska at the wheel. That is going to be almost unassailable at this stage in the race.
Yeah, I don't know if it is the McLaren, the Lamborghini that has wasted rubber, or if it is the combination of the car being way too heavy or something like that. Remains to see if Matska is going to be able to do something like that, as the laps from Stevens, only lap 26, which was the second to last lap, was actually under the 15. So I don't know if it is something on the car or something regarding the fuel and tires, but not a good performance.
McLaren squeezing through an impossible gap on the left-hand side, very nearly there, as XPD Emo Racing lose their podium in this battle. Because of the battling that these three have been doing, 5-Star Motorsport have been able to come in and jump everybody. They're all of a sudden onto the podium from 8th on the grid. A very good race from them, as RSR by Bukic try and head their way down the inside of the McLaren, although you can't dive bomb down here, as we've already said. 4 cars though for 3rd place. This is going to be an exciting fight to the end of the race, and I'm afraid to say that Miguel Rango doesn't look as quick as even Hernandez did a few moments ago. He is falling back and might drop outside the top 5 if he can't just keep these 2 cars behind him just in the lower positions at the moment. But this is an exciting fight at the moment over 3rd place.
Nice move.
Yeah, Ross Deal down the inside of the Pure Sims McLaren in that Mercedes to get up into 5th place. All of a sudden, after we were saying that Mercedes maybe looking a little bit sluggish around here with the Vector by RSR cars, they're still 11th and 14th, those two, now 13th and 11th, but this car inside the top 5, showing that maybe it isn't the car at all. They're actually running quite strongly here.
Could be. Let's see how they're going to do against the XPD Emerald Racing, as Ross going for a full commitment into the chicane. Going to use the back and side draft of the Mercedes to try to make the overtake on the Lamborghini. Does that V8 of the Mercedes have power enough to make that overtake without any issues?
Oh, it's a late move down the inside of the final chicane, but it's enough to get through. And XPD Emerald Racing with a poor run off the final chicane, lose out to Pure Sims as well. So I'm afraid Miguel Rango has lost 2 places in 2 corners. My goodness, that was close. Who on earth is that on the outside of the corner there? It's Oblivion Racing, and they've gotten out of the way, thankfully, because that was dangerous.
Dangerous is an understatement, as
it was on their
let's
own.
look again. On their own, fully on their own. Way too deep into the curve, didn't use any curbing. The back end just taps out. Now, what about reversing? Oh no.
Oh no, I can see an impending disaster, I'm afraid. Westwood Racing Esports, that is getting through, and the BMW doesn't. Oh my word, and the leaders were so close to getting involved as well. I think that was E-Team Brit actually, but they could have done absolutely nothing about that. It's a really difficult place to rejoin, it's fair to say to them, but you've got to do a little bit better than that, unfortunately. Oblivion Racing, you can't rejoin like that, unfortunately.
No, you can't. That was that is suboptimal. But if I'm them, just tow the car, man, because you're gonna Austin Powers with that much runoff. Take off the TC, burn the rears, and then try to come back on track and reignite the TC, and still would be dangerous.
Yeah, let's not forget they're trying to gain points on World of Sim Racing in the AM category there. At the moment, if they were able to get out and repair that damage before the World of Sim Racing car gets past them, they would still gain 8 points, but it's still not great compared to where they were. Meanwhile, this is also championship changing potentially as well. 8 points on the line here if 5-Star Motorsport can just keep RSI Bookkicker behind. But Ross Deal looks like he's absolutely flying at the moment. He's really rocketed up to the back of this Lamborghini.
Thankfully they don't have the Mercedes engine.
Oh, oof. Yes. F1, of course, yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I know. I realised, by the way, when you said that, how mad that would have been to hear that 5 years ago or something. You think, wow, but yeah, it really is the way it is. Mercedes, though, doing well here as well, looking to get on the podium by the looks of things. Inside line through the final corner, though. It's a risky place to make a move. They made it work once, but not twice. Although into turn 1, it's a fantastic run off the chicane, and Ross Deal is into the podium places, up to third. He's absolutely flying in that Mercedes and doing a very good job. Down the inside into turn 1 is not a move you see very often.
No, it's not. My only question is how much of a commitment you're doing on that car. You know, how much tire you're burning into the car. To try to make those overtakes, and how much you're pushing to the car and try to put the heat into the tires. Still remembering, it is a very cold track, 21 degrees Celsius on track 20 on the ambient, but which might take a lap or two for you to grab the or 3 for you to grab that optimal temperature. But even then, at what cost will come that P3 for RSI by Bookkicker? Can they hold this until the very end? Or how's this gonna pan out as the sister team is battling against the 272 car?
Yeah, this is for 9th in the overall, and down the inside, turn straight left, coming out of turn 8 through NASCAR turns 1 and 2. Vector Barretts are going to be into 9th place. That's not going to be a position in the pro race, but it is a position on the road, and Ingersoll Random Oath is moving inside the top 10 as well. VC Sim Racing wanting no part of that whatsoever. They are just trying to get this 2nd place and bring it home by the looks of things. Trying to keep their slim championship hopes alive. It's more about the individual races, but Valorous Motorsport, worth talking about them again. Here they are. Right. Oh, well, as we say that, he bumps the wall, but Ryan Harding, I was just about to say, doing a very good job here, because Emil Vingberg was really struggling through at the midpoint in his stint, but picked it back up again towards the end, and all of a sudden they've restored their 12-second lead here, which is... It's been a really topsy-turvy race for them.
Yeah, it's been, but I think the last 2 laps for okay. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it is related to the car, but Ryan is 3 seconds or 2 seconds on average slower than his teammate. Will that translate into maybe winning this race? Because the problem is the VC Racing, which is in P2. They're about 10 seconds. Yeah, about 10 seconds behind. I don't know if 10 seconds is enough for you to catch. And Alexander Godefroy actually is not being as fast as Ryan. Ryan being the faster driver. So Valorous, unless something drastic happens, to have this race in the back of the Pro-Am class.
It looks like it. And it wouldn't be the first time, as I've mentioned, that they've won a race here this season. They haven't been able to take both in a round before. So is today going to be the day that finally ends in Pro-Am? Meanwhile, 5-Star Motorsport all of a sudden are struggling again. Ross McFarlane is next up, and they're queuing up at this stage to try and get through. A little bit wide for Maximilian Fritz here. They're all of a sudden struggling in that car. The Mercedes are absolutely rocket. It's just completely taken off. And Pure Sims Esports are right behind here, looking for 4th place as well as 2nd. So 5-Star trying to defend for all they're worth at the minute, but it's not really panning out the way they want.
No, absolutely not. And but if 5-Star had to go for something, they had to try a little bit of a a risky strategy. Of course, they were the slower team in the pit lane by 1/10 of a second compared to pure sims, so they spent longer trying to fuel that car. So it's expected to see them maybe struggle at this point of the race. I don't know how that's going to translate towards the end, but going from 8th place towards the top 5 is still for them. They have to consider this a victory, and then they're going to be naturally better positioned than P3 coming to race number 2, so they can grab a lot of points going to race number 2 depending on circumstances.
Yeah, they will start a little bit ahead of T3 Motorsport by Maniti, their rivals of course, but you know, it's going to be hard because they're not going to start that far in front of them, and for a long distance race, are they going to be able to keep them behind and gain points? So yeah, it's I think you're almost relying on results going your way there with the 101. If you're 5-star Motorsport, obviously this championship is going to go down to the line. It is going to go down to the final race at Bathurst. I'm very confident of that as Valorous are in the wall. Oh my word. Reinhard Lynch from the leading Pro-Am is in the wall, and VC Sim Racing now leads. What has happened here? Through turn 3, it's all gone wrong for the Lamborghini. On their own, over that curb. And that is going to do some damage as well for Valorous Motorsport.
Yeah. How's their rejoin? Careful on their rejoin. Connery Maddock doesn't want to be annoyed by this. It's a clean rejoin, but they lose several seconds. I think that's 12, 13 seconds lost on them. Ewan, you want to pin this on me because I said nothing drastic should happen, or you want to pin this on them?
Well, yeah, we can pin it on you if you want.
Okay, fair point. Killing people with words once again.
That will be, yeah, there we go. That will be not the first time, but yes, Valorous. It's unfortunate for Valorous Motorsport. It really is. They recovered well from their little kind of shaky patch through the middle of that first stint. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be the race win here. Who's going to be 4th? It's a good battle between 5-star Motorsport and Pure Sims Esports. Both of these trying to cling on to the coattails of T3 Motorsport by Maniti in this championship, trying to prevent them from coming 2-time champions 2 seasons in a row. But for both of them, looking very difficult. They're both fighting over 4th place right now. 7 points on the line as well. So it is all very close. All very important, but the McLaren looks like it just has the edge. 14 minutes to go. Do they have the opening? Ross McFarlane, does he have a chance? Is he going to take his chance to get through on this Lamborghini? You've got to think that an opening is coming for him.
Yeah, it's a matter of when and where then for Ross McFarlane right there, and I think he's gonna commit on the chicane. He's gonna try to hang tight as best as he can over here, and then make that overtake on the chicane and hold on. No,
in the wall. Maximilian Fritz just ever so slightly wide through turn 7 there as he tries to maximise his run onto the oval, and surely this is a done deal now. Ross McFarlane with a better run and no damage on his car, almost pulling below the blue line. Protecting the inside fiercely there, Fritz, but he still remains in front. That was, and now McFarlane is not happy. The flash of the light says it all. This fight has just been turned up a notch.
Oh yeah, because I think Ross cannot be pleased with the fact that he's losing ground also to the RSR by Buttkicker. Well, let's just say RSR by Buttkicker doing a fantastic job with the car they have right now in hands, but Ross is trying his best to try to stay clean, try to not go overly aggressive, and Max, you know, just he's doing his job defending the car. I don't know how much damage that Lamborghini has in terms of stability or turn in or even into top speed compared to the McLaren, but Maximilian Fritz is entitled to do his defense, whether Ross likes it or not.
Yeah, I personally didn't see anything wrong with it either, actually, on the back straight. Of course, you can't pull below the blue line to make your dive down the inside. That is basically off the circuit. It's like a double yellow line on a super speedway. You can't go down below the line. But now Fritz leaves it open. A lap later, and Fritz leaves the door open. McFarlane, all more than happy to just walk through it. And so Pure Sims Esports are up to 4th place. That was remarkably kind of respectful. Well, don't say that the other one wasn't respectful, but it was remarkably hands off compared to the others. And Fritz is in. Fritz is into the pit lane here. There's surely damage on that car. Something has happened here to Maximilian Fritz as he makes his way down pit lane. We're not sure what it is. Clearly damage on that car. Surely damage on that car. Is it a drive-through, or is he going to stop in his box? Not entirely sure at this stage. He is stopping in his box. Getting damage repaired, surely. And is this the championship slipping away from 5-Star Motorsport? Their main rivals currently winning, leading this race. They came in with a 40-point disadvantage. That is only going to get bigger the longer 5-Star Motorsport stay in the pit lane. The Valorous Motorsport getting lapped here and coming under pressure from Eclipse Racing Team for 4th place in Pro-Am. This is another Lamborghini with damage today. They're limping it around. And arguably, Maximilian Fritz should have done the same in that 5-Star Motorsport car. He's surely going to drop below the Ingersoll car, and there it is. We'll try and work out just where he's got to in the standings now. I believe he's going to be 11th in the Pro standings, giving him a disadvantage of 67 here today. Giving him and his team, of course, 5-Star Motorsport in the pit lane at the moment, dropping points, dropping morale. But they'll be up front for the start of the second race. That's the only silver lining they can take here from this, because they're losing major ground in the championship today.
Yeah, that is unfortunate as they see them coming out of the pit lane, but I think the accrue of damage was way too much. Maybe fuel related as well towards that car, but unfortunate to see that 5-star car. Of course, don't get see nefarious tactics also being played right here, because you're gonna get P2, because P1 is gonna go to Westwood Racing after everything they went through is gonna go towards them. So let's see what the 5-star will have in hand going to race number 2.
Yes, it's yeah, we'll see. It's going to be 19th for them at the moment, so they're going to be right up towards the front and surely have to take a race win from there. Well, they're not 19th anymore, I'm afraid. Martin Buchan is from E-Team Brit. They are, yeah, Fritz all but just going through there into the 18th position. So, yeah, he makes up a place here, but it won't get him any more points, I'm afraid. He will be starting 3rd, though. Surely he's one of the favourites, if not the favourite, to take that win in race 2, excuse me. In case you've not been with us so far this season, the top 20 get reversed for the second race, and we see the reverse grid. We see how it plays out. It'll be very interesting to watch in about half an hour's time when that kicks off. But meanwhile, the battle for 4th in Pro-Am is on between Valorous Motorsport and Eclipse Racing Team. This is all about just salvaging something from this race for Valorous, but after all of their great driving today, you have to say, they're not even going to be on the podium in the first race. That must be very disappointing and hard to take for them.
Yeah, but they're fighting for Pro-Am, so I think for them, they still have to take this as a victory of sorts compared to what happened to them. You know, of course they had, they are going to lose some precious points, sure, to some other teams up at the top. But I think they're going to retain somewhat of a decent position in the championship. I'm just trying to look right now where they actually added. They are P5. I don't know if they're going to be able to close the gap towards anybody else, but take this as a win. You're still on track despite everything you guys went through. And you guys are going to have a decent position coming to race number 2 in comparison to everybody else, except for Eclipse Racing, which is probably one of the few teams that you're battling against, despite the point gap being quite far.
Let's see, 6th position is the focus at the minute, with 7 minutes to go here at the Charlotte Roval. Under the lights here, approaching 10 PM in sim time. Is getting no sun or ambient light anywhere around at the moment. It's all artificial at this stage. Headlights, of course, through the middle of the infield section. It's Olympus Esports who are on the defensive now. Vector by RSR trying to make up positions. Team scraped into the second part of qualifying through the top 10 method, but there'll be a much better race than they had in qualifying, or the performance they had in qualifying. So they'll be encouraged by that. But we'll see if they can really get through here. This is probably the position furthest up the field that is likely to change throughout the remainder of this. Ted Lowendick on board with him at the moment, following on with this Lamborghini through the final chicane, passing across those curbs out towards turn number 1. Very fast corner, of course, can't get too far on the left hand side on that curb there. It's all making this into one corner really, into turn 2. Just thread it through nicely here, and then it's basically a long right hander as well, double apexed of course, swing out wide, and then a nice run onto this little straight towards turn 5. Another long corner here as well, of course, trying to follow the Olympus Esports car as closely as possible. This 146 does have a bit of damage, which might help the Vector by RSR car just a little bit in this fight, but not a great exit out onto the banking, which is really going to hold them back for a move, and they're probably going to have to wait another lap really.
To say the very least, even though, let me just say, Lyubov of Sky actually did a fantastic job trying to contain the car, but the problem is her 2 last laps prior to the last one, so the second and third last lap, were actually much slower than the Vector by RSR car. Ted Lowendick basically doing 15 mid-lows, whereas out of Sky did 15 mid-highs, so that difference is what is helping the Vector by RSR car to be closer than expected right now.
Oh dear me, the 134 pushing things absolutely, but yeah, this is speaking of cars that don't look that handy to drive. So we're seeing that at Olympus Esports at the moment, but Ingersoll Rand notices as well, also seeing that right now. This is a very damaged car. I believe they have got quite a few repairs on this car, so this damage will be slightly more cosmetic maybe than anything else, but it's still not great news to see this car absolutely everywhere, all over the place. Look at the way that rear wing is bent about. Yeah, not good, but making it work at the moment. And of course they'll always have that second race, of course, where they'll have a decent starting position, other than 5-Star Motorsport, who have got to be the favourites for that second race. This is another pro team going to be starting in the front 3 rows, so you've got to watch out for them.
Yeah, it's a team that is gonna do really good. Oh, the in-team grid. Yeah, it is.
There's Martin Buchan again. Awkward place to get going, but he does it without major problem. And we'll continue in 19th. Let's see what happens through turn 2. Don't often see this. Just losing the rear really in that BMW. That car does look damaged though. That wouldn't happen to an undamaged car, surely.
Yeah, absolutely, and not the best race for that 368 car. Which let me just grab the numerations right here. I think they are second place, despite everything that is happening to them. They are still second place in the AM Championship. Because everybody else in the AM cars are actually far in the back.
Yeah, they are. Which doesn't help. Which doesn't help them anyway. Does mean that our championship does close up ever so slightly in AM. Indeed, Team Oblivion can actually get out in front, or at least cross the line in front of World of Sim Racing. They should do. There's not enough time on the board left for them to complete 4 laps here, World of Sim Racing. So Oblivion Racing will gain some points. They'll still be 3rd, so they'll gain 8 points. But with over 100 coming into today behind, a 95-point margin is really not that much better off. In Pro-Am, it's only going to extend to 18 points, despite Westwood Racing Esports finishing down in 20th. However, all-important 20th. They're going to be on pole for the second race. And in Pro, the margin is really going to balloon right out from T3 Motorsport to Bimoniti to 5-Star Motorsport, from 40 points at the start of the day to 107 halfway through this race. T3 Motorsport able to win race 2 and 5-star don't score any points, then they'll be champions with 1 round to go. Seems very unlikely at this stage, but 107 points is a huge margin to have at this stage.
It's a margin that it's nearly impossible for you to get under normal circumstances. Something has to happen for you to close down the gap with 1 race to go, and then still with 1 race to go. You'd have to have 2 perfect races, and E3 would have to have the worst case scenario, as Vector by RSR is actually really close to that Olympus car, just with the commitment of Ted going through the chicane.
Here is the opportunity for Ted Lewandijk. Is he going to take it down the inside into the final chicane? It's both of them late under brakes, side by side. My goodness, you don't see that very often. It's a cutback line for the Mercedes, but they can't make it work. And, well, that was very close between the two of them. You often see side by side through the chicane. Often, one driver backs out before the other, but neither of them wanted to there.
Yeah, you really don't want. You really want to back out with a lap or 2 to go. So yeah. Lyubov did the right strategy over here. Try to defend the best she can, and she gave plenty of room to Ted Lewandijk to try to make that move. So, well done by the Kazaki driver to hold her ground. Yeah,
absolutely. It's not a case of just rolling over, especially at this stage of the race. They've still got 1 lap to go at the line, by the way, both of those drivers. Because our leader, the T3 Motorsport by Maniti car, driven by Tim Matska, is on the final lap. The white flag waving at the start-finish line now. And Tim Matska is on course for another win. He was absolutely sublime at the first couple of rounds in our fall season. He kicked Maniti's season off to a fantastic start with 2 wins. They, of course, went on to take the championship. That season, it was only 30 points at the end. This season, it might well be more convincing, because if things stay as they are, it's going to be 107 with only 3 races to go. They've got a reverse grid race to think about in the next few moments coming up, but they won't worry about that just for the moment, because Tim Matska's going through the final couple of corners, and T3 Motorsport by Maniti are going to win again in the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series. It's the Charlotte Roval this time, but it's another great win for T3 Motorsport by Maniti. A lot of credit for this win has to be given to Tristan Iglesias, of course. His overcut, his pace on those in-laps was absolutely unbelievable, and it effectively won them the race.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What a drive from Tristan Iglesias. Fast lap after fast lap after fast lap, basically qualifying laps through, and deserving the win right now. What does Vector do right here? Full commitment, late braking, try to catch the toe right there from the Olympus team. Olympus, however, has the T3 car of Sasha Rubel and the 273 in her advantage. So amazing drive from the Kazaki. You know, had a few struggles in some laps, but at the end of the day, she closed the deal with a top 6 position. So that Olympus car getting very important points to try to move up in the championship and maybe get into the top 10.
Yeah, it's been a disastrous season for them. 15th in the standings at the moment. But that is a very important result there for Olympus Esports as the final few drivers come over the line. Only 9 cars on the lead lap, and Luke Burtonshaw there was the final of them in the 171 Vector by RSR Mercedes. It's such a short lap around here. The pace was sublime from T3 Motorsport by Maniti. And only 9 cars finishing on the lead lap, but all of them were behind Tim Matska. He crosses the line 4.5 seconds ahead of Jesse Stevens. RSR by Butker did very well to get into 3rd place there, and it was comfortable by the end. Pure Sims Esports 4th ahead of XPD MO Racing, who really did drop off in the second half of that stint. Olympus Esports with their first really good race of the season, really. Just ahead of Vector by RSR. Ingersoll Randonautis were 8th ahead of the other Vector by RSR car. And then the first of the Pro-Am cars, VC Sim Racing, win that category. After Valorous Motorsport led for most of it, but it wasn't to be for them. Moving on down, Rusty Spatula has finished 2nd ahead of Kazar Sim Racing on the podium. Valorous Motorsport missing out on a Pro-Am podium. Ingersoll Randonautis will have a good starting position as a pro car from 14th in that race. Eclipse Racing Team finished 15th ahead of the Am winners. Jason Telt Racing in 16th. Then it was T3 Motorsport by Maniti's Pro-Am car, not gaining many points at all on Westwood Racing Esports, who finished 20th and really out of contention. 5-Star Motorsport will be favourites for race 2. They finished 18th, just ahead of E-Team Brits. Moving on down to the final 4 drivers, the final 4 teams. All of these did not finish, or finished a long way down, I should say. T3 Motorsport by Maniti, Oblivion Racing, Wood Sim Racing Team and Kazar Sim Racing, all many laps down. Well, that's it for race 1. A very enjoyable race, it has to be said, under the lights here at the Charlotte Roval. We'll be back with race 2 soon, but let's do a little bit of an interview, shall we? While we're in the meantime, we've got a little bit of time here in the warm-up session, so let's bring in Emil Wingbo here from the 2-3-6 Valorous Motorsport team. Emil, welcome. Good to have you here in the booth with us. It was a little bit unfortunate for you guys, I guess, in the end with your result, 4th in Pro-Am, but your pace was unbelievable at the start of this race. What was that race, or what are your feelings after that race result, really? Because obviously, as I say, you demonstrated good pace, but didn't have the result to show for it in the end.
Yeah, it's been a bit the same all season, I guess. Good raw speed, but can't put it together in the race, and same again here.
Sorry to cut across here. Just tell us a little bit about what did go wrong through that race. I mean, there was obviously a few incidents about it, but what was the main reason? What went wrong throughout that race?
Concrete walls are hard, I guess. Yeah, obviously I had very good pace and good margin to the Pro-Am cars behind, so I really had no reason to push. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to keep with the top 2 and ended up hitting the wall out of last chicane, I believe it was, and just broke the right rear, and I think the right front as well. The car was interesting to drive. Didn't really drive the same, but it wasn't terrible either. So yeah, I coped with it fairly well, I think. Direct drive things, I guess. Ryan evidently struggled a lot more than me. I don't blame him. I broke the car for us, so I'll take responsibility for that.
And one last thing as well, because we've got a second race coming up. Reverse grid, of course. How are you feeling about that one? Maybe a little bit better starting position than you maybe expected. So, what are your expectations for the race?
Yeah, the 2 times we've actually won the reverse grid race has been on post-race penalties, so we've then started from the back as well. Maybe we can actually win it on track this time when we're starting in a good position, so yeah, clean car and hopefully cars who are slower than us in front. So should be able to have a good result if we don't hit the very hard concrete walls.
Absolutely, they are. They're lethal around here, it's safe to say. Emil, thanks very much for coming to join us. It's been good hearing from you, and yeah, I wish you luck for the second race coming up.
Yep.
Thanks very much. Emil Wingbo there joining us from the Valorous Motorsport team, of course. Also joining us, another Pro-Am team, Alex Godefroy now joining us from VEC Sim Racing. Winners in that first race here. Alex, good to have you here. Good to hear from you. How was that race for you in the end? I mean, were you expecting the race win when you pulled up to start that race?
No, not at all, because my car was absolutely broken from the, I guess, half of the first stint from my teammate. The wheel was pointing like 45 degrees to the left, so no, it was a real struggle. But yeah, luck with us, I guess.
Absolutely. How is the BMW around here? Because it's a difficult circuit. It's a bit of a wild circuit, I've got to say. How are you finding it around here in your car?
I think we were quite comfortable in the first third of the circuit, and in the second and last third of the circuit we were nowhere. It's definitely a Lamborghini track, I guess, but yeah, we were good on the curb, so it was comfortable in this aspect of the track.
And one final thing as well as we get set for the second race. How are you feeling about that one going in? Obviously, a reverse grid, which is going to be interesting off the start, but where do you think you can get to?
I think we'll be starting like P10 or P11, something like that. So who knows? If there is some trouble in the front of the grid, maybe we can gain some spot. My job is just to keep the car clean and give it back to my teammate Jonathan, who is the fastest driver of the car.
Absolutely. We wish you the best of luck with that.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you out there on the road in a few moments' time. Thanks very much for coming to join us.
Enjoy. Bye.
Thanks very much there to Alex Godefroy for joining us there from VEC Sim Racing. Winners, of course, in the Pro-Am category there in the first race, setting themselves up for a second race. It is a unique format here, Lorenzo, with the reverse grid and all of that. It's an interesting format as well. But it does mean a quick turnaround for the drivers to, especially if in the case of Emo Vingbo we were hearing from there, it's got to kind of put the disappointment of the first race to the back of your mind very quickly.
Yeah, you have 15 minutes to drown your pain in whatever liquor is available to you, or whatever is necessary for you to actually get back into the mindset of I have a race to actually deal with. So it's going to be a very interesting turn of events of sorts, seeing how does T3, the 101 car, will fare into the race itself, going from try to go first to last, or not this time to last to first, and I put last with the air quotes. So let's see.
Yes, let's see. Meanwhile, 7 minutes remaining in this warm-up session. We will be, of course, covering that one for you here on RaceSpotTV. For now, though, we're going to take a quick break here in the HyperX GT Sprint Series, and when we return, we will have the final parts of warm-up. We'll talk about the grid for race 2, and then we will have the start of the second race here at the Charlotte Roval. You're watching the HyperX GT Sprint Series here on RaceSpotTV, and we'll be back in a couple of moments' time.
Ain't accept and ignore, just kicking down all the doors. Guarantee you, boy, if I ask for it, it's gotta be real big. I gotta make it just for my kids, and for their kids, just kids. That's wealth years and years. Promise my brother soon as he out and finish this bid, we finna do it bigger than anybody ever did. The odds is real big, jobs that's real big. Satan trying a little, my God is real big. Stayed up on the ground on the cars is real big. I gotta do it big, the only way that I can live.
Welcome back to the Charlotte Roval for the penultimate round of the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series 2022 Sprint Season. It is me, Ewan O'Leary. I'm alongside Lorenzo Bonda, and Ryan Bauer is behind the cameras here this afternoon. And we've just seen a very exciting first race. T3 Motorsport by Maniti winning overall and taking a big step forward in their championship. But now it is the reverse grid race. The top 20 are going to be flipped, and this race is going to be flipped on its head. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be very exciting. And before we get to it, we're going to have a quick look at our giveaway and Easter egg for the day. The giveaway this week is a Cloud Flight S wireless gaming headset. If you get into the link in the description or the description of the YouTube chat, then you can find it through there. It's very easy to join the giveaway, and you're in with a chance. You don't have to do anything else. You're in with a chance of winning the headset. So yeah, make sure you get yourself into there and try to win that. This is the Easter egg picture of the day as well. Got to remember where we are in the world, etc. And yeah, no clue this week either. So you're really on your own with this one. When we're into the final round, there will be a sheet for you to input all of the Easter eggs from all 6 rounds throughout this season, and so you will be able to try and win all of those prizes. Indeed. So yeah, make sure you keep your eyes peeled and try and work out, of course, the Easter egg here for this week. So 4 minutes to go here in warm-up, as these guys are setting themselves up for a second race here. The concern really, Lorenzo, is going to be with those guys who are starting in 20th position, in my opinion, because the runoff at turn 1 and 2 is non-existent. If something goes wrong up in front of them, there's absolutely nowhere they can go.
Yeah, I think Ryan Bauer just put it perfectly right there, that placeholder image for us. It will be a heartburn for some of the drivers. I had to pull that one in. As how they navigate from those places back and trying to move up in the front. Do they feel safe? Do they not feel safe? How much the lap delta from the guys in front to the guys in the back will be? And how convoluted will be the traffic from these guys in the back that race one or got into the top 5 or top 6 or even top 8 of race number 1, trying to move up the spots, and how clunky it will be towards the turns. 3 wide, 2 wide, a lot's to be seen, but let's put one thing for sure right here, right now. Race 2 will be more frantic and probably more inviting towards incidents, or more incident prone than maybe race 1, because you have this difference. It will be maybe something of tense like we saw at Long Beach to try to claw up the fuel.
Yeah, and another thing that has changed here is that the sun's out at the minute, and we've got a light circuit for this one, so that is going to change things ever so slightly as well, getting used to the daytime driving. Although I would argue that going from daytime driving after doing a race in the night is less of a jump than going from the daytime into the night if it's just a jump between sessions. Normally, obviously, in a long race you can see the evolution of it, and then it's a little bit easier, but jumping from nighttime to the daytime, can't see that changing too much in how this race is really going to be raced here. It's going to be all out, and it's going to be, as you said, a little bit more incident prone than we saw maybe an hour ago.
Yeah, and also one thing we have to take into effect, it's not going to be a huge difference, but track is colder. Track is slightly colder than what we saw in the evening. 18 Celsius degrees on the ambient, 19 Celsius degrees on the track itself. The humidity is a little bit less humid, with 47 degrees. It was around 50 when we had race number 1. It's partially cloudy. It was slightly clear into race number 1. And the time of day is 8:13, so we expect a full hour of cold weather. Might increase up to 21 degrees, depending on circumstances when after the race is ending. But then again, on time delta, it's not going to be a huge difference in times.
Yeah, the race ending about 9:30 in the morning in sim time. That really doesn't give the chance for the track to heat up anything significant that's going to change this race. So nothing to worry about there. I guess at the opposite end of the spectrum, we talked about those who are going to be starting at the back, but 5-Star Motorsport are starting 3rd here as one of the fastest cars in the field. They've got a huge opportunity here.
It's their golden opportunity, in my opinion. You know, you kind of slated your car to be right about into the top 5. You had top 2. You had 2nd place up until Team Brit's problems at the end of the race, and unfortunately they were slotted back into the top 20, into P19 more specifically. So 5-Star now the leading car in the pro class, but the question is how much of a gap will they open now that warm-up is nearly done.
Yeah, absolutely. So losing an awful lot of points. 103 behind T3 Motorsport by Maniti going into today. They need to gain some back heading into the final 2 races at Bathurst in 3 weeks' time. Warm-up is over. The chance for preparations are over. And it's time to look at our grid. for the second race here at the Charlotte Roval. It's going to be Westwood Racing Esports on pole for Pro-Am. Haven't even talked about them, but they have got a golden opportunity as well in their championship fight. They're ahead of the Am pole sitters, E-Team Brit. Then the Pro pole sitters, Maximilian Fritz. What an opportunity for them from third. Sasha Rubo will have to keep Tim Spesser in close attendance here from fourth, because they're fighting for a Pro-Am championship. Jason Tells Racing won in Pro-Am in the first race. Can they repeat that feat starting from fifth? Eclipse Racing Team alongside them on the third row of the grid. Ingersoll Randanosis a second in Pro and seventh overall. Ryan Hardnage will be looking to atone for some of his little issues throughout the first race. Valorous Motorsport are rolling off from eighth. Kazar Sim Racing will be ninth alongside Rusty Spatulas in 10th, and then it's the Pro-Am race winners from race 1. Alexander Godefroy will be leading that car off for VC Sim Racing. Vector by RSR, 12th off to the start for Luke Burtonshaw. Jorge Correa is going to be 13th ahead of Ted Lowendick, that's Ingersoll Randanosis and Vector by RSR respectively. Then it's going to be Olympus Esports and XBD Emil Racing on the 8th row together. Ross McFarlane is going to be starting the Pure Sims McLaren, he's 17th ahead of Ross Deal in the RSI by Bookkicker Mercedes, he's 18th. Then it's Pure Sims Esports and T3 Motorsport by Maniti on the 10th row together, followed by another T3 Motorsport by Maniti car in 21st. Oblivion Racing 22nd ahead of their Am Championship rivals World of Sim Racing. And finally, Kazar Sim Racing 24th in the Am category, will be bringing up the rear off of this start. We're about halfway through the formation lap. These guys will be just psyching themselves up for this run down in towards turn number 1 in the daylight this time here at the Charlotte Roval. It's going to be an exciting race, but who is going to win it, and are we going to get through this first couple of corners without problems? It is going to be almost a miracle if we do. Let's hope that we do, because the track can become blocked very quickly, as we've already talked about, but it is going to be on the minds of those who are starting towards the back. Let's see if we can all get through cleanly as we make up towards the banking for the formation lap. Another hour of racing, only 3 races to go here in this championship. 1 more here, 2 more at Bathurst, and then we will know our champions for the 2022 spring season, the HyperX GT Sprint Series. HyperX, of course, the official gaming peripheral sponsor and of course partner of this championship. We thank them very much for that, because it's provided real entertainment for us over these last couple of seasons. 6 races in the fall season, very exciting, including a great championship finale at Montreal. We're setting ourselves up nicely for a great one at Bathurst as well over the next few weeks. 103 points separate the top 2 in Pro, only 18 in Pro-Am, and it's down to 95 in the Am Championship. What are those gaps going to be in 1 hour's time? We've got 60 minutes at the Charlotte Roval, this time in the daylight, to decide what is going to happen here. Tim Spesser will be in control of our field. Westwood Racing Esports with a golden opportunity here. Pole position in Pro-Am. Their championship rivals only 4th though, and only 18 points between them heading into this race. The pace car pulls off, and now Tim Spesser is in control of this field. It's E-Team Brit on the outside line, with 5-Star Motorsport and T3 Motorsport by Maniti on the second row together. They run up towards the line. Westwood Racing Esports in control of this field, leaving it a very long time. Ingersoll Randanosis try and make the jump. It's very late indeed, but they finally get going. 5-Star Motorsport already looking to make moves into turn number 1. Do we get through here cleanly with 4 wide in the background? But we have all made it through nicely. Through turn 1 at least, down turn 2 we go as well. It's a nice start for Westwood Racing Esports. It's a very good start for 5-Star Motorsport actually, moving down towards turns 5 and 6. A little bit chaotic in the background, but we're all through the first couple of corners.
How are we clean through after the jump that we saw from Ingersoll, and then Pure Sims just trying to plow its way going to turn number 1 and nearly caused the 4 wide. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. I'm speechless.
Yeah, that is it's somewhat surprising, but a very good surprise indeed, as we get through the first few corners at least of this race without incident. It's still Tim Spesser leading from the pole position in this one, and he's done well to hold on to there, but further back, look at how chaotic it is. We'll see where the main pro cars are after one lap of racing in a few moments' time. But for the moment, 5-star
Motorsport spun around.
Oh dear. It's not been their race, has it really? Not been their day. Unfortunately, the other car started outside the top 20, and so I think this might be the car that was outside the top 20 before, actually. Mario Ndiovo started way down. I'm afraid he is still a long way down the order. And the 135 of Jorge Correa down to 19th. So it's not been a good day for Ingersoll, as Pure Sims Esports of the 116 came up short ever so slightly in that last race, but they're not doing too badly in this one so far. They are up to 10th. As things stand, as we go back, this is where the real action is. All kinds of cars all over the place at this stage, but the 101 car, winners from last time out, already making a good start into 8th. As you see Jason Taylor, unfortunately, going off the road in that AM Porsche, down to 23rd for him.
Yeah, but he got lucky that he didn't hit the wall, but he was actually in a very dangerous position during the outline transition that cars go towards turn number 3 and 4. Backed out of his way, which is the good thing they actually did, so he gave room to the other cars, but from the lead of the GT3M all the way down to the back.
And this is the leader in the GT3 AM at the moment, E-Team Brit, 3rd overall and 1st in the AM race. We have a new leader overall. The 5-star Motorsport Pro car is now leading. Only took them 2 laps to get to the front, and now Maximilian Fritz has just got to run off into the distance. But already their rivals, the 101, are into 3rd. As we see, T3 Motorsport, big incident, I think, at turn 1.
Yep.
It's only involved that. Oh my word! They're trying to get on to the track again. Oh
Jeez,
my word!
God.
That was very, very well dangerous, really. All the way down to last, unfortunately for the championship leaders in Pro-Am. Let's see what happened. Into turn 1, just lost the rear all by themselves, and everybody avoids somehow.
I really want to know who's driving that. I think it was a Porsche that narrowly avoided this T3 Lamborghini, but the rejoin, man. Look at the Lamborghini. I think that was from. Really want to say that was from Olympus.
Yeah, it looks a bit Olympus, but I think it was actually Team Oblivion a little bit further down. The Porsche you mentioned there, by the way, Chris Chatterton for Eclipse Racing Team, he was, oh my god, outrageously close to getting into this car. This was the Oblivion car, and this was also really close, but not in the way you want to see. Well, you don't want to see either of them really, but especially not this.
Yep. And I just saw the 272 spin around as well. We're going to look at the replay later, but that was really close. Jesus Christ.
That was so close. So close. We see that is the Oblivion car. Oh, yeah, indeed. That is
Olympus.
Oh, that is Olympus. There we are. The 146. It's really not been their season, and I'm afraid it is continuing. This is the Alexander Godefroy car, and has a spin. Pro-Am race winners from race 1, but going to have a job on their hands repeating the feat with that little spin at the chicane. Far too much over the curves, and there might be a similar story here, although Lubov already has damage here.
Yeah, she had damage already up in the front. I think that is what aided the car to be so unstable during the transition of the first leg of the chicane towards the last leg of the chicane. It was spun around down into P24 all the way down to the back, and it's going to be hard for the Kazaki driver to try to make up the ground necessary. But like I said, this race 2 would be more incident prone towards the start.
Well, incident prone, but also battle prone at the moment by the looks of things. The McLaren in the inside of 3 wide. 101 car goes down the inside of 3 trying to make this work. Oh my goodness, they all just about get through there, and somehow they are all still going in the same direction. The Arsenal by Bucket car gets through on the championship leaders as well, as Vector Maris are trying, and yet the Pure Sims Lamborghini spins around the 116, runner-up from the first race. They're going to do well to do that again, because they go for a spin at turn number 1.
Yeah, but luckily for them, there's no more cars up in the back. The first car, the last car just went through is Jason Tails, but other than that, scary moments, but those first few laps, you said battle packed, and we kind of expected that of sorts, but we didn't expect this kind of drama early on.
Yeah, unbelievable. The Pure Sims McLaren back on the inside again. It was a lovely switchback from them, by the way, at this time, last lap at the chicane, but looking to get through in a more orthodox fashion this time, as they're down the inside, although this move isn't done yet. The 171's still on the inside line, but can't make the move. So the other RSR by Buttkicker car goes through on the inside line, and Maniti are trying any which way to get through, but can't. They're looking left and right again, but can't make their way through. Final chicane time. Let's see what's going to happen here. Dive down the inside from Tim Matska. And this time, he gets the move. He did lose a few places at the final chicane last time, as there's contact. The 171 gets into the side of the 173. And I'm afraid the T3 Motorsport by Maniti car goes off into the grass.
Yeah, I really want to look at that on the replay from the cockpit or the gyro perspective of the Vector by RSR. You're going to see Matska being aggressive into turn number 1. I don't know if that was actually deliberate.
Yeah, same. I'm not
sure.
No.
I'm actually just... I want to look from the cockpit cam, but it looked like that Vector by RSR car just stepped out on its rear during the transition. You can see that's the RSR by Buttkicker that was right in front. You're gonna see right on its rear wing the chaos going on right behind them.
Yeah, this might give us a better view. You see how close they were. Goodness me, Tim Matska's going to fly down the inside here. This is a nice move.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the other car, does it swing out deliberately, or do we see a losing of the rear end there from Luke Burtonshaw? It really is close.
It lost the rear end. We can actually look at the Vector by RSR car later from their perspective, but the steering wheel just was very loose during the transition towards the second part. So it kind of the rear stepped back towards the direction of the Maniti car, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, and yeah, contact made off the road for Maniti, and they drop down to 14th position in this race. The teammates, though, are not doing too badly. 4th in the Pro category, 8th overall at the moment. Not losing too many points. They've got a big lead, and so all they needed to do was really get through the first couple of laps cleanly and then move forward from there. Tim Matska was just doing what Tim Matska does and gaining loads of positions off of the start. He was right up, I think he was 10th after the first lap, despite starting 20th. Unbelievable start, and he's very good at it. But now he's got to settle down and get through on the RSR by Buttkicker Mercedes. Doesn't look like he'll have too many problems with that, because the 169 does look like it has a fairly significant amount of damage actually to the front of that car.
No, I think he's slightly kicked in. Let me just take a quick look at the front is kicked in. It's kind of like caved in towards the front, literally the middle of the splitter. You might lose some aerodynamic performance in terms of getting the drag out of the car, and maybe lose about 5 to 10 3 to 4 kilometers. The problem really begins of once you lose the toe. If you lose the toe right here, it's going to be tricky for Rostio to, but not intended, to deal with. But the car looks quick. Last lap 14.3 was actually the fastest car out of the small train that we have of cars right now.
And Jorge Correa is recovering rather well here. 19th after the first lap, despite starting inside the top 10. And now he's looking to get back into it. 11th at the moment for the Ingersoll Randonausis driver. But he's behind 2 Vector by RSR Mercedes. And will not want to let him through. Get down to the back straight chicane. Slightly over these curbs. But maybe not as aggressively as in years gone past. Now onto the NASCAR turn 3 and 4, onto the banking again, and the final chicane as well. Vector RSR look like they're just dropping away ever so slightly from the rest of them. So Jorge Correa will fancy his chances here, but yeah, Ingersoll really not having a fantastic day. They've really not had a fantastic season. Things not going their way really. Their best car is in 9th in the standings right now. But given the pace they've shown, you would expect a little bit better from them. As Ross McFarlane is going to find himself in an awkward place here of having to get through on Pro-Am and Am cars. which is always a bit of an awkward one because nobody knows whether to quite let you through, battle you or not. It's a bit of a weird one, but McFarlane's going to have to deal with it. Down the inside he goes through at NASCAR turns 1 and 2. He gets such a good exit off of turn 8. He's able to just drive through on the inside line here into 5th place in the overall race. RSR by Butkicker and T3 Motorsport by Maniti are going to have to do the same. Close to that wall once more and out towards the final chicane. Going to do well to get through here on Valorous Motorsport. And of course, Ryan Hardin, who's going to just do his best to hand that car over to Emil Vingbo with a fresh car and some good pace within it, so that they can chase after a Pro Am win, and do that by letting through the Pro cars as he does into turn number 1. Valor has dropped down to 8th in the overall standings, but it won't matter to them at all. The 171 looks like it's been steamrolled as well, but ever so slightly into turn number 1. Ingersoll Randonausis getting through there as well. Side by side into turns 5 and 6. This is not good for Luke Burtonshaw. He was 9th at the start of this lap. Now he's just trying not to become 11th. But there's nothing he can do. The Audi goes around the outside of turn 5, inside for 7 and inside for 8 as well. So Luke Burtonshaw demoted another place, and Ingersoll make themselves into the top 10. When the field is so close like this, and when battles are so close, getting pushed off through one corner, even by your teammate, can set you back. Burtonshaw though steaming down the inside here of the Ingersoll car, although far too deep, and he's going to have to give that back.
That's a dive.
Certainly was. And unfortunately, too much of a dive really in the end. There was no way they were going to make that corner almost.
Yep. Nearly no, they were never going to make that corner properly with the dive that actually did on the Ingersoll car. Meanwhile, Team Brit expectedly losing lots of ground.
Yeah, they are. My goodness, that was close. I should just get used to these guys being so close to the wall, to be honest, but it just scared me. Tim Matsker down the inside there. Team Brit have got a decent chance here, though. Woodard Sim Racing Team are down in 14th, and they're the next car in the AM category, so a better chance than any that they'll have to win a race here.
Oh yeah, they have the golden opportunity. They just need to keep the car on track and get towards the end. I don't think that the World of Sim Racing Team or even Jason Tails are going to be enough to actually catch them. Just looking at the laps right here, 117 for Martin Buchan. Meanwhile, Victor Garrido and Jason Tails on slightly faster, a second faster per lap, but I don't think it's going to be enough on the general scope of things to get closer. Maybe they're going to have to resort to pit strategies to win this.
Yeah, quite possibly. Really bouncing that Mercedes across the curbs there. RSR by Bookkicker. Closing in on the McLaren, but they make their way through at Westwood Racing Esports, and so the Mercedes does as well. The Audi has to pull out the way, and now all of a sudden going to be under pressure from everybody. Flash of the lights, not pleased. Eclipse Racing Team trying to just get in front of them at the moment, and so are the championship leaders overall. Westwood Racing Esports really not pleased with how that all went down, and now all of a sudden they're under pressure for the Pro-Am lead.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an RG-bargy going to turn number 1, slightly aggressive from the RSR by Buckkicker, because they did touch their back end going to the exit of turn number 1. But other than that, they're going to drop like a rock a few spots, but I don't know how close will Eclipse be in the fight for the lead, because Westwood will have a little bit of drag for the next few turns. But in general scope, I do still think this is what Westwood race to lose. Opinion circumstances. I don't know if there's any damage in that Audi though.
Well, let's see. They're under pressure now. This is for the Pro-Am lead, let's not forget. Westwood Racing Esports need every point they can get at this stage, but Eclipse is trying to take a race win down the inside and through. Chris Chatterton makes his way through on Tim Spetzer and up into 5th place in the overall race, but more importantly, the lead in Pro-Am. That is a very nice pass indeed for the Porsche team, and they get through. So, wow, we'll see how Westwood Racing can respond here, but not good news for them. I think they're almost rattled by the Pro cars bombing through on them a couple of laps ago.
yeah, it was heavily bullied by the GT3s. But let's see now on the replay what happened over here to Quasar. Quasar not having the best race at all in this in Charlotte, just losing the back end on the exit of turn number 4. Somewhat expected, giving that curb and the way the track is like paved and the banking doesn't aid too much the car instability.
Yeah, there are a lot of curbs like that around here.
Yep.
That you can that you avoid. I understand why they're there. Of course, they're called turtles in America. I don't know why.
American things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we can go into lots of American things. I know Ryan is going to be.
Yeah.
Why are we even talking about this? Like even corners numbers. We know Virginia International Raceway has turn 20 A, B, C, D, and F all the way to the Z.
Yes.
And in Europe we have. I know why. Like Red Bull turn number 2 is not turn number 2 in my opinion, but it's still turn number 2. I know why.
It's our American corner name version, kind of.
I know. Yeah.
But I actually commentated at Road Atlanta yesterday, pulling my hair out about that as well down the chicane. There we are. But anyway, we'll park that. Yeah, let's see. E-Team Brit doing well at the moment. Currently leading the AM category, as we've already talked about, but applying the pressure to a Pro-Am car in the form of Westwood Racing Esports at the moment, which is good to see for them. I feel like these battles are going to make a bit more sense to these guys now. They're going to be a bit more inclined to battle now. We've had the first 20 minutes of the race, and some of the pro cars have got their way through now, so the order's sort of sorted itself out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, now that you got clear track and in the heat of the race, kind of like went down a few notches, to put it mildly. They can battle for a few positions. I don't know if E-Team Brit will have the pace necessary to make that overtake on the Audi at the end of the day. I think Martin Buchan is just trying to follow his best team's faster. If it finds the opportunity to make that overtake, that would be amazing. It would be giga for them. But other than that, Team Brit just holding on the best they can, that lead on the M class, because everybody else behind them, like we said before, still far behind. I think the gap that separates them towards the first of the M class cars, which is the World Sim Race, is about 20 seconds.
It's quite a margin at this stage.
Oh yeah.
So they are sitting comfortably. It would be their first win of the season. It's only their 4th participation in the 10th race here at Charlotte. So that might explain a little bit why. But considering the race they had last time out, and particularly Martin Buchan in the second half of the race, saw him off the road and with big damage fairly regularly in that second stint. So he's done a really good job in the first 20 minutes of this race to keep up this pace. But this is going to be an ominous prospect for the Westwood Racing Esports team. Ryan Hargent is getting into this stint more and more as it goes on. His focus is not only let's get this car to Emil Vingbo with no damage, let's give it to him in a good position. That's exactly what he's doing right now. He struggled, as I said, in the second half of the race earlier on, but he is starting to move forward, and Westwood Racing Esports are going to be looking over their shoulder here.
Oh, absolutely. They need to look over that shoulder more constantly, because it's a matter of when Ryan is going to make that overtake. Ryan is doing 15 lows, mid-lows, whereas both drivers up in front are doing 15 high, so 15 to 16 high and 16 low or even flat. So that Lamborghini of the 236 is just doing the job of keeping the car clean and the best they can right now for race number 2. Try to make the overtakes necessary, because I think right now they are probably the second or third fastest Pro-Am car on track. I think they only lose to the Eclipse car up in front.
We'll see how the second drivers get on, of course. We didn't see much of Benjamin Upton-Kowski in the first half of the race earlier, because they were so far down so early on, and he wasn't really able to show his pace. So we'll see, but they need to gain as many points as possible on their rivals in the championship, of course. 18 points behind going into this race. If it were to end as it is right now, they would gain 24 and have a 6-point lead coming into the final race. So or the final 2 races. So the Pro-Am Championship is certainly our most reliable entertainment in terms of an actual title fight, because those 2 teams are so close. And yeah, Westwood Racing Esports, of course, were AM champions in the fall season, so it's great to see them moving up the ranks, of course, into Pro-Am, of course, but not only just moving up and just kind of scraping through and having a couple of decent races here or there. They're legitimate contenders. They're more than holding their own in a higher category than they were 6 months ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's, and like I said, many opportunities. You need the regularity for you to be in position to the championship. You can even not win a proper race and still be champion, just because like contenders in front of you are either crashing, getting bad results in very important races, and you're just up in there, top 3, top 5, getting closer to the win, getting a P2, and just because of that, you're showing up yourself to be a contender just because of that.
Here is the 3-car battle for 6th. Westwood Racing Esports leading it right now. E-Team Brit following. Valorous Motorsport trying to get involved. And they actually do look the most threatening in terms of making an overtake here. Although, with only just over 2 minutes until the pit stop window, I do feel like anybody will be less motivated to make moves than they otherwise might be, as we do have cars off. The Quasar Lamborghini may have been involved here. They are a lap down at this stage now already. But Ingersoll, I think, did get involved with them. Let's see what happens. We're up into turn 5 and 6 here. Ingersoll and Vector Barros are having their own fight here. Quasar get things wrong, go for a spin, and Ingersoll pick the wrong side, unfortunately, and they lose out on places.
Yeah, but as a counterpart, Ingersoll just went in too deep into the corner of turn number 6, and because of that, they were relegated to go into the offside part of the track and had to take immediate evasive action. Lost, I think, 2 spots in the process, backed out to P number 12, but 2.3 seconds away. Actually, not even that. They're within a relative competition of Ted Lowendick, so the loss has been marginal for them right now.
Yes, it certainly has. So, yeah, let's see. That battle is set to continue, by the way, for 9th in the overall race. There's going to be some pro positions to talk about there throughout the second half of race 2 here at Charlotte.
I'm going to make a blunt prediction right here. And this is not even blunt if you're paying attention towards the top of the tower. That gap was about 6 seconds. Why is 3-4 seconds? I can tell you why. Ross McFarlane is basically lapping nearly half a second to a full second faster than Maximilian Fritz at this current moment.
Yeah, that's 3.5 seconds at the minute.
Yeah, that battle for the lead is going to happen, and I don't think it's going to be a one-way battle. It's going to be a 4-car battle.
It certainly, that is a very exciting prospect going into this. I just hope that one of these 4 cars doesn't get a huge advantage through the pit stops, and we actually get to see them fight it out for the race win. I know Iglesias was unbelievable in his overcut and his in-laps throughout that first race, and that was a joy to watch. But it's also nice to see a good hard fight for the race win out front of one of these races. So let's see which of those outcomes actually happens here. I'm hoping for the on-track battle, but let's see which one that transpires. 5-Star Motorsport, though, have got to be looking over their shoulder at this point. I wonder if Maximilian Fritz will be quite interested in getting out of the car immediately here, because the pit window is now open. One of these 4 surely will be taking an early pit stop here. No. Wow. So nobody deciding to take the early stop, which is somewhat surprising to me.
Nah, if I'm right now at this current moment, if I'm either one of the drivers, I stick it out as long as I can.
I mean, 5-Star Motorsport are bleeding time really quickly, which is the only kind of reason I would have said for them. Valorous Motorsport have had enough of being stuck behind cars in front, and so they're in, along with Ingersoll, Randanosis as well. But if I'm 5-Star Motorsport here, Maximilian Fritz getting caught hand over fist. Surely you've got to be in sooner rather than later. I know you don't want to get caught up in traffic, but there's going to be traffic everywhere soon. There's going to be people coming out the pit lane in front of him. You know, he's going to be coming up to lap cars, so he can't stay out here till the very end of the window, surely. Otherwise, he's going to get undercut.
Oh yeah, I think if we're measuring to lap deltas, he needs to come maybe lap at worst, and I mean at worst at lap 25, because right now in terms of traffic, there is a good chance of him catching the back end of those who are pitting right now. So if he goes into turn number 1, there is a good chance of him seeing the Ingersoll car in front of him, Team Oblivion in front of him, the Valorous team in front of him. So there is really good margins of time loss that Maximilian Fritz can have in this race.
There's the Ingersoll car, and he's going to be more of a hindrance to those behind by the looks of things. The McLaren gets through, but the Mercedes does not. RSL by Bucky going to be slowed up by this one. Ross Steele, he's going to have to deal with this. But he is, and he's down the inside through 5 and 6, and he does indeed make his way through. Tim Matska follows, and now we go on board with the Maniti driver. Won so much for this team over the last, even over the last year, to be honest. Been a very good driver for them, and he's showing his prowess once more into the back straight chicane, I should say, at turn 11 and 12. Out onto the banking again, and now this race really does get interesting. Only 2 seconds of a race lead and traffic to deal with as well. There's going to be more and more as this goes on.
I keep questioning myself as the RSR by Buck Kicker. Well, like we said, I think because of traffic, RSR by Buck Kicker was relegated to come into the pit lane and draw the first shot, the first blood, and go into the pit lane and maybe get the undercut on the other teams. Now, the question is, 5-star now 1.8 seconds, dropping like a rock. Pure Sims, I think, got nearly the fastest lap of the race with a 1:14.4. But their performance is absolutely blistering. And if I'm the 105, this is the lap I'm pitting. You know, there is no traffic in front that is considerate. I think the biggest considered traffic will be Valorous and Westwood, which are still battling for position right ahead of the 5-star car. But I think he's about 3 or 4 seconds behind them. Pit now, go for the undercut.
Sorry, I think we do have to see a response from one of these top 3.
Oh yeah, you have to. You must.
Somebody will. Somebody surely has to. They're equidistant at 1.6 seconds at the moment, the top 3. A little bit more spread out than we saw previously before this pit stop window. Does anybody come in? Absolutely. Maximilian Fritz follows your advice and comes into the pit lane. The other 2 stay out. This is going to give us our first indication of where that Mercedes is really going to be after this pit stop. Have they got a real good undercut here? Because if they have, then that's going to really size up this race.
Yeah, and now we have to measure what Rune Janssen's pace will be with worn out rubber instead of a new rubber into the car, as they're going to do driver swap. And how hard does that number 101 and the number 117 car will push towards the tail end, because they're on the back foot, right? They're the cars who are trying to steal the points that 5-star apparently wanted to have at the start of this race, and are now getting from them, even though it might be like 5, 6, 7 points from them at the total of things. But they are the 2 teams who are contending for the championship, especially Pure Sims. They need all points they can get because they're about 56 points behind in total. They needed the points after going P4 in the first race.
There it is. 5-star Motorsport exit the pit lane just under 3 seconds back to RSR by Bookkicker, maybe 2.5. That's roughly where it was before, really. But I do think that Pure Sims are going to get jumped here, and they respond. The McLaren comes into the pit lane itself now as well. So the response has been made. Ross McFarlane is going to get out of that car. Eric Grove is going to get in. It is indeed the time for Pure Sims to come in because their teammates likewise do the same. But I reckon this McLaren is going to be behind the RSR by Bookkicker Mercedes, and this car is going to remain behind everybody. But we said that before, and they came out in the lead at the end of the pit stop cycle last race. So who knows what's going to happen over the next 4 minutes or so. of traffic for Tim Matchka to deal with as he goes out onto the banking once more. NASCAR turns 1 and 2. But if he pits this time, he won't really have to deal with them. Pure Sims esports car exiting the pit lane right now. Going to be close. I'm not entirely convinced 5-star are in front of Pure Sims here. I think the McLaren has got this one. And change for the race lead, it looks like. So Pure Sims and that 117 McLaren. Eric Grove is going to be in the lead of this race. Rooney Janssens almost drives off in frustration trying to push and catch this car. But it's a great overcut. The overcut again working, this time for Pure Sims Esports taking the lead.
Yeah, and again a long pit, 1 second more of fuel than Pure Sims. So I don't know if that Lamborghini is wasting more fuel or they're not conserving fuel as probably they wanted to, despite being in the front for the majority of the race. So something happened right here that didn't give the 105 that advantage they probably would have wanted towards this end of the race. But as a counterpart, they have the draft. They are about a full second, but they cannot let this slip away. If this slip away to about 1.2, it's over.
Well, let's not forget, Eric Grove and the driver Rooney Janssens drove together for a lot of the first half of last race. Oh, this Janssens very sideways out the final corner there. But yeah, they drove together for a long time. Janssens was able to easily keep up with Grove. Can he close this 1.7 margin though? And where do RSR and Miniti play into this? That's the real question as well. As Niels Tiestes gets through on one of the Pro-Am cars. Valorous Motorsport, by the way, and Emu Vingbo has got through on the Westfield Racing Esports car for second. So now there's a chase on for the race win in Pro-Am between those two teams. Going to be very exciting to watch down in Pro-Am, as well as the battle for the overall race win, which is of course going on. Surely T3 Motorsport by Miniti aren't going to stay out on the overcut strategy for the second race in a row and shock everybody here. That would be an unbelievable drive, this time from Tim Matchka, but it's very possible.
They're playing a very dangerous game. It depends on the laps that Pure Sims, and I would even say, yeah, it has to be Pure Sims. We have to look maybe the 2-3 fast laps, first fast laps from Grove, to see if it is right around the 14s. If it is on the 14s, if I'm Team Matchka, I would be slightly concerned that overcut might not work, and if it does, we'll be very short. 14.9 to Pierre Grove right now. So far they're gonna get the overcut, but the question is how close that other overcut will be.
It's going to have to be in this time. 26 minutes to go in the race and barely 1 minute left of the pit stop window. Tim Matchka pits as late as humanly possible. And he'll be handing over to Tristan Iglesias. Will he be handing over this car in the lead, or will it be behind the Pure Sims Esports McLaren, in with a chance of winning a race for the first time since Kota, just about, where it was 2 second places for them on that occasion. There it is. Been a strong season from this McLaren for a car that is so unfancied by so many drivers on the iRacing service at the moment. It has been a wonderful servant to these two, Eric Grove and Ross McFarlane, in the 117. They still do have a very outside chance of a championship as well, but far more interestingly to them, they've got a chance of winning a race here at the Charlotte Roval. Can they? Into the final chicane goes Grove. Where is Iglesias going to be? I think Grove's going to just about have this one, but it is going to be close. T3, oh, it is going to be very close. As there's a spun car just in front, is that going to be the difference? Quite well, not quite, but it's enough for T3 Motorsport by Miniti for the second race in a row. They do the overcut on their rivals, and they get out in the lead with less than 25 minutes to go.
Like I said, the overcut was very likely to happen right here, but the problem was how close was it going to be. Now we know why, know how close it was. I think because of the spin from the XPD Admiral Racing going to turn number 1, we know the gap is going to be right about a second in between them. As we're going to look on the replay, what happened to XPD going to turn number 1? Does he get too much curb? You know, the car just taps out on its transition of the bottomy part of the access road going to turn number 1, going to the exit of turn number 1 of the infield. And unfortunate, but that was enough for Pure Sims to lose the ground a little bit.
I don't think it was enough to change the course of the front of the race, but it certainly did slow them up ever so slightly. Now it really is a race between Tristan Iglesias and Eric Grove in that Pure Sims McLaren. 1.3 seconds between them right now. 5-Star Motorsport have just dropped off, by the way. 15 seconds to RSR. They've clearly made a mistake somewhere, but you have to say, even whether T3 Motorsport by Maniti win or come second or even come third in this fight here, the fact that 5-Star Motorsport are so far off and look destined for 4th place here, if not worse, well, we can't write this championship off just yet, but it's slipping out of their hands. Let's have a look at a replay at what happened. Rune Janssens was in front of the RSR Mercedes. He hits the wall and goes for a spin all by himself. A frustrating spin to add to a frustrating day for the 5-Star Motorsport team. They were 4th last season, not too far off the leaders at all. Only 64 points off by the end. It looks like they might well take home 2nd this season, but they're going to be even further behind an even more dominant T3 Motorsport by Maniti. Meanwhile, the battle for 2nd is going to rage on. Michael Limon is not going to let this slide easily. Eric Grove is going to be under fire from this Mercedes, you can be sure of that, and that is only going to play into the hands of Iglesias in the lead of this race. 22 minutes to go here at Charlotte. And it's a familiar sight at the front of this field. What looked like we were going to see an epic 4-car battle to the end is not going to turn out like that at all. Kim Matska has done the business with the overcut there. So let's focus on this battle for 2nd, because Eric Grove has got some defending to do here. Michael Limon and RSR have been able to really get this Mercedes working as 5-Star drop further down. Another mistake from Rune Janssens, I think. He drops now down to 10th, and there's damage to this car as well. Big damage to this car as well. And the Quasar car might even be involved here. Let's have a look at the replay. Through turns 3 and 4, an already deflated Janssens will be even more furious with how that has turned out. The Quasar sim racing car tries to get back onto the road, straight into the path of 5-Star. And there's nothing that Janssens could have done about that.
No, that was an atrocious rejoin.
Connery Maddock is restless wherever he is at the moment. Deary me. It's a blind corner, obviously, but you can't rejoin like this. The 5-Star car into the wall. And that is surely hopes of a championship going up in smoke right there. It's not going to be sealed today, but it is going to be almost decided before we get to Bathurst. Meanwhile, down the inside for Michael Limon into the chicane on the back straight. Turns 11 and 12. He claims them, and the Mercedes moves up to 2nd place. Eric Grove losing time to Tristan Iglesias up front. Can Limon do anything about this lead here? It's 2.7 seconds, and he has looked quite strong, but so is Iglesias. We'll see if this margin comes down at all.
Yeah, but the lap gap is just absurd as now RSR moves into P2 as we just saw. Now, I do think if there's something that we can see in terms of battle, might be RSR versus D3, but even then I don't think it's enough of a gap that Michael Limon can actually close down and go over the battle. I think this is C3 races to lose and that 101 car. And can we put it bluntly, with 1 round to spare, the champions mathematically? So let's see.
Well, yeah. I don't think any of the championships will be settled mathematically here, but certainly morally will be decided here at Charlotte. Still got to do the business at Bathurst and get to the end of those races, but let's see. RSR by Butt Kicker will be trying to close down this margin for the race lead, of course. It's 2.5 seconds at the moment. The battle for the lead in Pro-Am is set to be very exciting. Eclipse Racing Team versus Valorous Motorsport is very much alive here. Less than a second between the two. The Porsche coming under fire from the Lamborghini, just about half a lap behind these guys. There is a battle for the Pro-Am lead happening. And here it is. There's damage to that Eclipse Racing Team Porsche. You can see Sam Mee's car tracking not straight there on the back straight. And Emu Rimbo is going to have one of the easiest passes for the lead in his sim racing career. Into the final chicane. Might even be able to get it done here. Inside line. He wants to get out of the behind of that Eclipse car as quickly as possible, because that is not driving well, and Valorous Motorsport are back to the front.
I know the Porsche suffers from quite some degradation in the car, but looking at the car in general, it looks clean. If there's any damage, might be maybe some side damage that affected the wheelbase or something like that. But yeah, you're pretty much bang on the head. It's not turning well enough, but I do think might be some wheel damage or steering damage in the car that is not making it properly straight, and the back end is going loose like an ice skater.
It is hard to tell at a circuit which is almost never straight, though.
Oh, Jesus! Now Eclipse nearly spun around the margin of the oval.
Here are the Vector RSR boys, going to be overtaking this Eclipse car, and indeed pulls wide to let them through, almost as if welcoming their arrival. Oh my goodness! Lowendick closes very abruptly under the brakes there. And now Mee goes wide, letting through the pair of Mercedes. So back to 8th place. Important, very important for Westwood Racing Esports, because 9 points in the championship up the road here. Eclipse Racing Team are there for the taking. There's no doubt about that. With 17 minutes to go, there's no way they can hold the Audi behind.
And the gap between P1 and P2 is increasing now. So apparently the RSR by Buckkicker car is starting to fade away a little bit, and in the back, Mee's world is just getting worse and worse as the Westwood car is now going to make the overtake.
Yeah, Westwood Racing Esports are surely going to be making the move here soon. The Vector by RSR boys are running line astern, working with each other at this stage, but Westwood Racing Esports making light work of Eclipse by the looks of things. Just away from our cameras, making their way through. Just before that move, on the road, there was a 3-point difference in advantage of T3 Motorsport by Maniti in the Pro-Am standings. After that pass, they've managed to turn it 6 points in their favour. Westwood Racing Esports. This championship is going down to the wire, although if Maniti were to be able to get back in front again, then they'd retake the championship lead by only 1 point. So who knows? Who knows what is going to happen in Pro-Am? Vector by RSR though, this is a battle in inverted commas for 6th place, isn't it really? Teammates on the road, not going to fight each other very hard here at all.
Yeah, and I got info over here from the Eclipse team that I think that is one of the teammates of Sam Mee saying that the rear right tire is out of whack. So like I said, I think they might have hit the wall. Looking at the car, it does look a little bit off the line, so that's why the car is having mega issues going to the left-hand turns. I was looking at that as the car just doesn't want to turn. Basically want to step out of its rear, and there's a little bit of a world of pain right now as we still follow both RSR by Vector by RSR cars. If you're the team boss at Vector by RSR or RSR in general, do you go give the green light and let them battle? Because last time we saw Mercedes teammates, guys in Mercedes battling, we know that Mercedes nearly dismantled.
Yes. Over the line again. Just under a quarter of this race remaining here. In terms of the racing around here, Lorenzo, the Charlotte Roval obviously is, as we said at the start of the day, a bit of an odd circuit. But has it lived up to your expectations in terms of the racing that we've seen here so far?
It did. I thought it would have been more close towards the front after the pit lane because of the different pit strategies and maybe traffic coming into effect. I'm going to be honest, I do believe that race 2 was going to be closer because the way Pearson's came out, but unfortunately I think the SPD Emerald car, when it spun, it took the momentum away out of Grove, and I think also the natural groove out of the McLaren is to waste more rubber in the rear and be more twitchy and become more hard to drive. So it is unfortunate to see that 117 car not being able to put the same pace as Ross McFarlane was putting in the beginning, but is right on the margin of what I expected. Yes.
I mean, even if Grove did get out in front of Iglesias there, you can't say he would have, or I don't imagine he would have kept him behind for long because the gap's already 6 seconds between them.
Yeah, probably he would have been able to hold him maybe a lap or two, maybe even 3, depending on how hard you want to defend or even go for an attack on the draft. But other than that, it's all on Iglesias to nurse the tires and become blistering fast. Not even a single lap is over the 15s, whereas Grove's gone multiple times in the 15s. I think this last lap was the first one after a stint of 7 or nearly 10 laps that was on the 15s.
You saw there, Ingersoll Randonausis getting through an Eclipse Racing Team for 9th overall. Eclipse, of course, struggling now with that damage. They're in 10th. Lose 18.5 for them on the last lap. 2.5 seconds slower than the Quasar Sim Racing Hydra car driven by Aaron Ackles. Looking for a podium in this race, and they might well get it. 6 seconds, 12 minutes to go, but they're losing 2.5 seconds a lap here. So it doesn't look like it's going to be even a podium for Eclipse Racing Team. This track has shown that it can bite as Simu Wingbo said to us, concrete walls are quite hard. And Eclipse Racing Team have found that out over the last few minutes. There's no doubt about that.
And Wimbo, by the way, he said that while putting his best lap right now. And Wimbo, come on. I cannot give you praise in you actually nearly going to the wall of turn number 4.
He's driving very quickly. The 3rd fastest car of anyone on the last lap, by the way. So for a Pro-Am car.
Yeah, but the problem is his car had a little bit of a twitch on the rear going to the transition of 3 to 4 and lost a full 1.5 seconds to T3. So any prospect of seeing a T4 battle towards the end of the race is now down in shambles.
Well, 3 seconds, 11 minutes.
No, I'm not seeing that battle happen.
No, okay, okay. I wonder what you were. I wonder what I'd done wrong. Yeah, we'll see. But no, it is quite a big margin. To be fair, that 173 car is not going slowly exactly. In the low 15s, almost eternally. Rudy Notwell doing a good job there. In 15.2 in the last lap. Another car not tracking straight there. That's World of Sim Racing. Now, is that the car in AM? I suppose it must be.
Yes.
Championship leaders gaining points once again today on Oblivion Racing in both races. I'll say that. I'm not sure they. In this race, I should say, rather than in both races. But they were closing on E-Team Brit before this. Now the gap's ballooned to nearly 5 seconds, and they're going to do well to hold on to second. So all of a sudden, it's falling apart for them as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there is any damage.
There it is. They're off, and they've spun. Down at turn number 1. There it is. Where did they pick up this damage? That's the question. We're almost going to get a battle for the win in AM. Let's see what happened into turn number 1. Looks like just one of those things, just a spin into turn 1 completely on its own because of the damage almost entirely there.
Yeah. No curbing though.
Nope. Just another hit on the wall as well for good measure.
Yep.
Diego Vasquez trying to get out of the way. So I don't want to be driving the wrong way at a race circuit really particularly either. So he's
Okay, Ewan, remember when I said no?
Yeah,
I said yes.
I was not so sure myself, but I should have said it at the time.
No, I think what happened, I think the world of sim racing might have caused this unintentionally, because it did go through some of the, I think, leader cars right there. And the gap between Rudy Neville and Emma Wimble now is about 0.8 of a second. I think it might have been aided by the world of sim racing spinning on turn number 1. I want to check that out.
I think you might be right.
No, they probably were. They were one of the last cars on scene, so that's why they lost a lot of time.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Actually, I did see some cars that look quite similar to. Obviously, they're going by in a flash, but yeah, I think you might be right. Meanwhile, though, we're definitely saying yes to this battle. 8.5 minutes to go, and it's going to be good to watch. Valorous Motorsport versus T3 Motorsport by Maniti. Doesn't matter in the context of either. Of the race win in either category or in terms of points for a championship, because neither of them are involved anyway and they're not in the same class. But it might be interesting to see Emma Wimbo try and get through on Rudy Notvo here. It really depends how much risk is he willing to take, how hard is he going to push to try and get this move done. You know, it's we're coming down towards the end of a race and they're on the verge of a race win here, are Valorous, so they might not want to go all out, but you never know. We'll see what happens.
He likes the spotlight, so why not go for maybe an attempt of a move, maybe 2. If you don't get it, you know you got the win in the bag. The likelihood of Westwood reaching you is, well, none. So unless you do a absurd mistake, well, it can happen. And Emil has done this plenty of occasions already in race number 1, but. Looks like Emil might have the upper hand in terms of car and driving other than Rudy right here, so we can definitely see that P4 being stolen from T3 and going to the way of Valorous.
I mean, yeah, the chances of them getting caught is about none, unless they get involved in a fight they don't need to and involved in an incident. So, yes, let's hope that doesn't happen. 11 seconds, about 12 seconds actually, back to Westwood Racing Esports at this stage. It wasn't a difficult pass for them to make earlier on. The Eclipse Racing team pass for the actual win wasn't a difficult one either, but this is going to be a little bit more challenging. It's for 4th place in this second race at Charlotte. 6.5 minutes to go. And a little bit further down, I think the Vector RSR 171 car has also maybe got damaged somewhere, because Westwood Racing Esports all of a sudden closing on them rapidly. Their teammates leaving them behind. There might be a change for 7th overall as well. Possibly 10th overall. 3rd in Pro-Am. Could be a battle between Eclipse and Quasar. So there's a number of things to be maybe keeping an eye on throughout the latter portion of this race. And of course the battle for the AM win for 12th overall. So all of a sudden 4 battles have popped up out of absolutely nowhere, and we don't know where to look once again. Just over 5 minutes to go. This is the battle for an AM win, and this is very important for both of these teams. E-Team Brit will want to take their first win of the season, of course.
Yeah, I was wondering why that car was going so slowly.
Yeah.
But slowly. Because it was.
Yeah, it's relative.
Yeah, because it was being half a second slower on its lap, so I was wondering why it was losing ground to Michael Tyler right in front of him, whereas on paper you were supposed to be gaining ground. But I think I see the master plan, the L plan from Jason Taylor's right here. You know, let the 117 go through. Eric Grove is about to overtake the 18 Brit car, so he's going to bring closer both of these BMW and Porsche. So the likelihood of we see that Jason Taylor's car going for the lead and maybe taking the lead is very high when they merge into the oval.
Here it is. Let's see if the plan comes off for Jason Taylor's Racing. The team in form, by the way, they are in AM. Won both races last time out at Long Beach. Won the first race here. Looking for 4 in a row with a victory at Charlotte. outside line. This is probably the best way E-Team Brit can let Eric Grove through, but it's still not ideal because they're taking a longer route around, of course, the circuit. They took back in case they need to defend, and ever so slightly a half defence already on the back straight chicane. Almost didn't need to there, but it does show that they're watching the mirrors nervously and trying to defend from that Porsche. Only 4 minutes. Normally, with 44 minutes to go, you'd say they're never going to hold them back. But with this time on the clock, they might just be able to. Michael Tyler has got it all to do here as he defends once again into the final chicane. And Countermark tries to get the run out into turn 1, but he's not going to make the move there.
Meanwhile, the small blessing might have gone into the favors of E-Team Brit, because I was looking at this battle. The Pierce Sims 116 car just came in like a rocket on the braking of the last chicane. So it's right behind the Jason Teo's car. So it's a matter of when the overlap will be done. So turn 6 is the overlap is done. So the gap widens to 0.6, now 0.5, and Michael Tyler is gonna get a second win over here in comparison to Kyle Domark. So let Michael Tyler go. Michael let the Pure Sims go, ride the draft, and Kyle might try the overtake, but he's not going to have any offer because you're right on the braking zone.
No, Tyler defends again into the back straight chicane, turn 11 and 12. That 116, by the way, unlapping itself from these two. It's certainly entitled to do so because of its pace. Meanwhile, this is the opportunity for Jason Tales Racing to get the inside line and get the win on the brakes, late on the brakes in the final 2 corners. And with only 2.5 minutes to go, E-Team Brit hearts are going to be broken because Kyle Domark has got through on the Michael Tyler. And surely that is going to be a 4th race win in a row now for the Porsche.
Yeah, traffic just going on its way, and but props to Kyle Domark. Kyle has been very fast on the Endless AM class, going to 15s and 16s all around, and being about a second quicker than Michael Tyler. But E-Team Brit, regardless of what happens, what a race 2 for them. Let's bring the car home. They have a little bit of grace on the wall on the exit of turn number 8 right there, but still going to be P2 at the end of the day. A very pleasing result for the Team Brit.
It is very pleasing indeed, you would say. They've not managed to be up at these heights just yet in this season. So it would be good for them to get up there now. It was, I think they haven't even had a top 5 yet. So it's, yeah, a double podium at Charlotte. Very good drive indeed. Meanwhile, been a great drive from Iglesias as well. Leading by nearly 5 seconds. 1 lap to go at the line. P3 Motorsport by Maniti dominant once again in the HyperX GT Sprint Series. And they're on their way to a championship. There can be no doubt about that. Over 100 points of an advantage over 5-Star Motorsport and Pure Sims Esports heading into the final race. Putting a further 19 points into the McLaren team today. Loads more into 5-Star, who do end up beating a few of the pro cars in today's race, but it's still nowhere near enough to keep this realistically alive. Mathematically it's still possible, but realistically it's a tall order. White flag here for Iglesias, and you can do nothing but take your hat off to both him and Tim Matska. Impeccable once again here today. Double win for the 3rd time this season, surely on their way.
Think about.
Absolutely. 5 seconds is the margin. Michal Limon has done a really good job to keep them in check actually, and he's really left behind Eric Grove in 2nd. Putting to bed any debate about the Mercedes being a poor car to choose. I don't want to say putting it to bed, but certainly putting it into doubt. The only Mercedes on the grid here today. Excuse me, the only one from RSL by a bookkeeper at least. Vector Biosar have got 2. They're in 6th and 7th at the moment. Final time though through turns 11 and 12 for Tristan Iglesias. Closing in on Oblivion Racing, who themselves have lost points in a charity battle today. Tim Matska and Tristan Iglesias have put the hurt on everyone else, and they're going to come out with a huge championship lead. It's a third double win of the season for T3 Motorsport by Maniti, this time at the Charlotte Roval. Tristan Iglesias comes over the line, weaves across the line. He is delighted with that, and why not? Because it's another dominant performance from a dominant team. Surely they're on their way to a second IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series title in a matter of a year. Another great performance from them. And you have to say here, another great performance from Valorous Motorsport, who are going to take home a Pro-Am win, a very deserved Pro-Am win after missing out here in race 1. It was a difficult first race, but a flawless second race, and they're going to be good value for their win.
Absolutely. And this might actually make the Pro-Am Championship a little bit hotter, as Wimbo going through the final turns and taking the checkered flag. Good win from them. As also we have the Jason Tails Racing going into P12, but more importantly, a win for the AM class for D number 5, which surely will appreciate all the points they can get, and the bad race that World of Sim Racing had at the end of the day. I don't know if it's going to heat up the AM championship, but it's going to make maybe top 3 more interesting.
It certainly will. Let's have a look at our race results then after another 60 minutes of racing here on the Charlotte Roval. It's a predictable result indeed. T3 Motorsport by Maniti winning by nearly 5 seconds ahead of RSR by Bookkicker. Pure Sims Esports McLaren rounding off the podium. Rudy Notville held off Emil Bingbo's attacks late on in that race to hold on for 4th. Then it was the 2 Vector by RSR cars in 6th and 7th. Westwood Racing Esports take the Pro-Am Championship lead with an 8th place here today. Ingersoll Randonose is 9th ahead of Quasar Sim Racing, rounding out the top 10. Just off the podium, Eclipse Racing Team, Sam Mee just about finishing on the lead lap ahead of Jason Tails Racing, who win in AM ahead of E-Team Brit with that late pass in the final 2.5 minutes. T3 Motorsport by Maniti's Pro-Am can't lose their Pro-Am lead, but they've got it all to play for, only 16 points behind heading into Bathurst. Ingersoll Randonose 15th ahead of Oblivion Racing 16th, and then Rusty Spatulas ahead behind them in 17th. 5-Star Motorsport, disappointing day all round for them, 18th on the day. XPD Emil Racing finished 19th ahead of Pure Sims Esports Reese Carroll after a fairly long pit stop in that one, 20th for him. Warder Sim Racing Team unfortunately didn't get to the end with much of their car left, 21st for them. Quasar Sim Racing 22nd, Impulse Esports 23rd, and VC Sim Racing at the back after not making it to the flag, I'm afraid to say. That is it at the Charlotte Roval. 2 great races, and hopefully we're going to get some interviews now as well. Jason Taylor joins us first of all. AM winners here on 2 occasions. It's 4 in a row for you now, Jason. You're on a great run of form. How was that final race though? Race 2 here was very intense right until the end in the AM category.
Wow, yeah. I was I thought we were out of it because I spun early, and I just tried to fight my way back, and I really have to give it up to Kyle Delmark because he really brought us home. And I was pacing all up and down the room, just wondering if we were going to be able to get this win, and he managed to do it. And I'm just absolutely thrilled.
You guys obviously didn't join us from the very start of this championship, 2 rounds in, of course. But what would you put your recent run of form down to? I mean, 4 wins on the bounce now is not bad going. What would you put that down to?
It's been a lot of hard work with the team. Not just the 2 of us, but everyone is chipping in to make sure that we do the best we can. And I don't think we could have done this well without this whole team effort going. So I really have to give it up to everybody.
Absolutely. It's great to see you guys performing so well, and we look forward to seeing possibly more of the same in a few weeks at Bathurst. Jason, thanks for coming to join us. Good to hear from you again, and congratulations on the double victory once again here today.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jason Taylor there joining us from Jason Tails Racing. Double winners here at Charlotte. Also winners today, Emil Vingbo finally getting his win, which is fantastic to see for Valorous Motorsport. Emil, good to have you here once more. We spoke to you after race 1. It was looking good for you for this race, and you've managed to get your race win. You must be pleased with how you've driven there and how the team has performed, especially in race 2.
Yeah, it feels good to finally win on track. We had better damage again. We didn't avoid the walls, but it was generally speaking fine until I grazed the walls slightly out of turn 1 with like 3 laps to go, and the right rear just decided to brake. So I drove 45 degrees right hand down the last 3 laps, which was sketchy, but we had the margin in hand to take it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. You did it in the end. How was it in between race 1 and 2 there? Because obviously you didn't get the result you really wanted in race 1, but you're able to bounce back here. I mean, how did you kind of pick yourselves up from that one almost? Because it was disappointing, the first race.
I think just knowing that apart from destroying the car quite a bit, I had good speed and consistency was all right. And then going into the car now in race 2, I don't know, it's a different, like, for me it's a slightly different mindset of going into the car with half the race left versus starting, because I know exactly what, like, my targets are, which was overtake 2 cars, I think, and then just from there it's cruising to the end. But when you're starting, it's kind of like just build as large of a buffer as you can, because I know Ryan is obviously he's doing his best, but he's not quite the same pace as me. I don't think he knows it and has nothing against admitting that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good dynamic between the two of these, certainly, that you've got. I mean, looking ahead, are we going to see you at Bathurst in a few weeks' time, and what are you expecting from that race if we are going to see you there?
Yeah, I'll be there. I have no idea what's on the line championship-wise. I haven't looked into it, but I don't know where we finished. Mid-pack again. I'm not sure if we're really in with a realistic chance for the championship still. But we'll go into it, just do our best, and hopefully stay out of the walls. Because I've heard they're very solid there as well.
Yeah, they don't get any softer, unfortunately. It'll be another challenging day for everyone. But we're looking forward to seeing you there in a few weeks' time. Until then, we'll see you soon. But congratulations on the win here in race 2, and thanks very much for coming to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks very much. Emil Vingbo there from Valorous Motorsport, joining us from Pro-Am victory here in race 2. Doesn't look like we've been able to get anyone from T3 Motorsport by Maniti in here. Hopefully we'll be able to speak to them after the Bathurst race, where it looks likely they're on course to win a championship here at Lorenzo. 2 enjoyable races at Charlotte Roval, but nobody was beating T3 Motorsport by Maniti in either of those. They were excellent once again.
They were phenomenal in this race. Their in laps were phenomenal. I cannot wait to see how Bathurst is going to be, because it is a different race. It is a different beast to tackle Bathurst. Well done conquering the American roads. Now we go to Australia, where we're going to separate men from kids.
It's certainly going to be exciting. Join us in 3 weeks' time for the finale of the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series live here on RaceSpotTV. Thanks very much for your company here this afternoon. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Lorenzo Bonda. Ryan Bauer has been behind the cameras, and until our finale in 3 weeks' time at Bathurst, it's goodbye for now.